Hi, folks. Welcome, welcome. I hope everybody is having a good Sunday. How's everybody's day been today? Patricia, what? Thank you so much. Right off the bat. What a way to start the stream. Thank you so much for the sub. It's awesome. I really appreciate it. Welcome, Rascal. Good to see you. I hope you're having a good day. Hi, Lalo. Welcome in. Hey, thanks anyway, Tricia. That's still awesome. Feel free to share that message. Yeah. Hey, welcome, Zena. Hope you're having a good day. Hey, Mendione. Welcome, Anon. Hey, Mel. Did anyone do anything really cool this weekend? Well, I guess nobody did, but that's fine too. It's good to have a quiet weekend now and then. Hey, Sirius, welcome. All right, we're going to get started here shortly. Got a really interesting Oh, your niece made you do some spa stuff all weekend. Oh, made you do spa stuff, huh? Man, that would be fun. Welcome, Full Stack. Wolfpack in the house, indeed. Oh, you did face masks every night and painted your nails. Oh, that does sound fun. Oh, Pokemon Go Fest, Xena? Wow. All right. You got 10 shinies. Wow, I haven't played Pokemon Go in a couple of years. It was really fun, though. My phone just couldn't really handle it at the time. Oh, hi, folks. Welcome, welcome. I love that Pokemon Go is still a thing, though. That's great. I don't. My phone now probably couldn't even really handle it very well. I don't buy the best phones. I just have a Pixel 3a, which is still good. I love it. So, but it. I think that would just explode the battery. All right. Well, welcome in everybody. Today we are going to tackle the FullStackOpen homework. So if you weren't aware, we did have homework assigned, and it is due on Tuesday. I don't have any idea whether we'll be turning it in, but we're going to do it anyway because we're supposed to, right? And we always do the homework. And so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do that. And the other assignment too, you may have noticed, the other homework assignment that's due Tuesday is to build your own API and to host it on Heroku. Now, we just did that, didn't we? We did that on Wednesday. So if you're struggling with getting your API built out and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do this by Tuesday, that VOD is on my Twitch channel, and you can feel free to follow along and make your own. I was helping somebody on Twitter today. They did an awesome Ben Folds API, which honestly I wish I would have thought of it. And it's based on our video from Wednesday. So you don't got to do a Star Trek API. You can do whatever API you want. Just use Wednesday's video as a framework if you're struggling with that. So hint, hint, the VOD is there on my channel if you need it. All right, let me just catch up with chat here real quick. Welcome, Libeba. Oh, you're at Great Wolf Lodge? I haven't been there in a few years. Oh man, can't miss the VODs even on vacation. Wow, that's some dedication. I wouldn't feel bad if you just came back and, watch the recorded VOD later, but it's up to you. Papa John's commercial. Oh my goodness. Hey, welcome folks. Trying to populate a drop-down list. Yeah, so I have done that before. think if you go back and watch my doggo generator VOD, we did that. We got data from an API, we pulled it out, dropped it in an array, and then used it to populate a drop-down list. So you can always go back and catch that video. I don't know if it's still on Twitch, but it will be on my YouTube channel, ! YouTube, if you need that. So go check out the doggo generator API project, and you should maybe find some clues there on how to do it. So just FYI. Ah, you made an Outlander API. That's awesome. Yeah, feel free to share on Twitter anything cool that you make. I look at every single one. As long as you mention me, like if you tag me at MyOwnWolf on Twitter, I look at every single one that y'all make. Have you had to turn in any of the homework so far after the restart? I don't think so, but that doesn't mean we never will, and it's still good to do it anyway, right? Oh, thank you, Mel. Thank you for gifting a sub. Thank you so much. Always appreciate it. Will we cover all the exercises in part 3? No. We're going to do exercises 3.1 through 3.8, because if you look back at the homework, that's really all that was assigned. You're welcome to do all the exercises in part 3, but all that was assigned was just the Express and Node section. So that's all we're going to focus on. Not going to stop you from doing more. But just FYI, I mean, on the follow along materials like line there, he just specifically calls out Node.js and Express for the assignment. Oh, and I didn't turn on closed captions. I apologize. Using VS Code terminal to push code to GitHub. So if you're getting errors, make sure that you're using the right kind of terminal. We'll show, I'll remind y'all how to change your terminal into the right one. If you're trying to push like your code in like say PowerShell, it's not going to work. So I'll teach you how to change terminals, and that might help you. That's a very easy mistake to make. Absolutely. You're going to do a Star Citizen API and you would take 10 plus years. Yeah, that's it. They have a huge ecosystem, don't they? Oh, man. Oh, and okay, I'm going to turn on captions before I forget. 2 seconds. I gotta do that in a new window so it doesn't deactivate after a while. Chrome likes to suspend tabs. So I need to make sure my captions stay up. All right, we're gonna start captions. They should be working now. My apologies. Luckily, I have that reminder to remind me. Oh, posture check. Thank you. Crack my neck there. Let's see. Oh, welcome, Jimmy. Happy Sunday. Thanks for doing this. I was told not to hard code APIs in the request because it could change. Are you mean like request, you mean like when you're requesting certain resources? Is that what you're asking about? Because I feel like the basic structure of the URL is going to stay the same, but then yeah, you're going to want to use like variables generally when you're like requesting resources, like specific resources from the API. Yeah, then you can absolutely use variables, but like the basic URL, like the hosting, the root is really not going to change, I don't think, but I might be wrong. I mean, I'm sure you could probably variabilize the whole thing if you really wanted to. For now, we're just going to kind of hard code stuff for the sake of the exercises. But yeah, I mean, if for specific resources, you're probably going to want to use variables. 200 chips, wow. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Looks like the audience is arriving. So let's take a look. So I'm kind of going into this with the expectation that you've at least skimmed the reading. We're not gonna, go through and read it together. That's not really what, it's not really, I'm not here to, read the homework to you. I think there are folks on Discord who are happy to do that and do, read time and study together time. So feel free to seek out those folks. but we're going to kind of focus on the exercises and reference back to the text as we need to. And, just to make sure, because otherwise this stream would be another 6-hour stream and I can't handle that. All right. This tutorial is so long. Yeah. Exercises 3 through 8 is what we're going to be focusing on. And that's really all that was assigned. The whole chapter is very long. Yes. The tutorial is fairly long, but I think it is worth going through, this particular section, I'm going to scroll up fast here. This specific Node.js and Express section, I think, is worth reading through and coding along, because a lot of it is, then applied in the exercises. And I think it's a good tutorial. I actually liked it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. We'll go back down to the exercises. Sorry for the fast scroll. All right. So the first exercise is phone book backend, step 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to implement a Node application that returns a hard-coded list of phone book entries from a particular address. And they give us the specific address they want us to hit in order to return this specific data. And then it's nice, they even give us how the output is supposed to look, right? So we can see what we're supposed to get back is just, if we hit this URL, we're supposed to get back an array with these objects inside of it. So cool. And they give us another couple things that we're supposed to abide by here. Note that the / in the route API persons is not a special character. Okay, didn't think it was. This application must be started with the command npm start. The application must also offer an npm run dev command that will run the application and restart the server whenever changes are made and saved to a file in the source code. Okay, so let's go ahead and start setting up our environment so that we can do all these things. I'm starting from scratch here, and we're gonna sort of implement each piece that we need in order to accomplish this. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and create a server.js file, because that's what we're going to need to kind of power our API, right? Server.js. Okay, perfect. And I'm also going to open a terminal. Now, and this is kind of what I touched on earlier. Oh, inadequate, you're taking your family to the fair? Yeah, have a lot of fun. Definitely catch the VOD later. Family time is important. All right, so when we first open the terminal, we can see that for me, it actually defaults to PowerShell. This isn't strictly necessary for maybe this exercise, but to answer somebody's question who is maybe having trouble using Git from within VS Code, if you're using Git, you're going to want to make sure that you're in the right, you're going to want to make sure that you're in the terminal environment from where you normally do your Git work. So if you're used to using it in a separate terminal window, you're going to want to make sure that you go ahead and switch it to the appropriate terminal. So for me, that is Git bash. And so you can just switch it that way. And you can see my PowerShell terminal is still here, but now I'm actually in bash. And like, so if I was going to be deploying to Heroku, which we're not for this one, but we did in the CRUD app, and did we in the CRUD app? No, sorry, in the Star Trek API, we went ahead and deployed to Heroku. And so in order to do that, we needed to be in bash. And if you want to push to Git and GitHub in your VS Code environment, you're going to need to be doing it in your usual Git environment, terminal environment, whatever that may be. It might be Git bash, it might be WSL, or something else. Or if you're on a Mac, I don't think it'll matter on a Mac, but Windows, you got to actually switch it. Yeah. How you're catching up watching the 6-hour video? Oh boy, yeah, that was a wild ride. Oh, and thank you for the bit, anonymous person. I don't have my sound alerts on. I'll fix that during the break. You're playing Jedi Fallen Order for the kids. Totally just for the kids. Yeah. Hey, there's no shame in that. Sounds like fun. Yeah, you've been able to use PowerShell and VS Code to get stuff, and just Might just depend on your setup. I actually prefer doing it in Bash, and it doesn't seem to work for me in PowerShell, so I didn't think about it too hard. I just switched to Bash. Yeah, and you can probably change the default for what opens up by default. In my case, I just switch it. Again, I haven't thought about it too hard. It's easy to switch. It's good. It's good to know how to switch between terminals too. So we can do PowerShell, Command Prompt, Bash, whatever else you might have installed. That's awesome, multi-hyphenate. Do you know why Leon advocates for Windows users to use WSL? I don't know that he's like advocating for it necessarily. He suggested it, I think, but I mean it's a Linux implementation for Windows, which I think gets it closer to like the Mac experience. I'm not 100% sure. I'm just using Minty for mine. WSL is I think a little bit more involved of a process, and so it's up to you. Bash seems, Minty seems to work fine. But you can, I don't think there's any harm in you installing it, WSL, if you really want to. I don't know enough about it to really advocate for one or the other. Yeah, you can pick default. I figure you could. Yeah. Yeah, WSL is really nice because it's a Linux environment. Yep, it's literally Windows Linux. You didn't understand that we were just asked to do part 3A. Yeah, it's not really worded all that well in the follow along materials, but if you look, we can go there. I got to pull up in my other window. 2 seconds. We'll just take a look real quick. So if we look at the follow along materials, so read Node.js and Express. So that's the section that we're reading now. So he doesn't say read section 3. He says read Node.js and Express. So if I'm wrong, you can blame me, but I'm pretty darn sure we're just supposed to be doing the Node.js and Express section. Yeah, if you just install Node for Windows, it gives you npm and all that in PowerShell, but not in WSL. Interesting. Okay, that is interesting. I've just been doing everything in Bash. Yeah, I haven't bothered with WSL, but that's good to think about. Yeah, because WSL is a separate environment, so you have to install Node the Linux way, and for me that's just an additional complication, and I'm just like not gonna bother. It might come back and bite me later, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, so the homework is Node.js and Express on FullStackOpen, so that's what we're gonna do. So let's go ahead and get into it. Yeah, and that's what we're using. The Bry guy. That's what we're using. We're using Git Bash today for what we're doing, even though we don't necessarily need it. I mean, well, I guess we do because we're using npm. So yeah, we're gonna need it anyway. Sounds like when we get a job, we'll have to switch to Mac anyways. I kind of disagree. Honestly, I was a little bit surprised at the conversation today in office hours. When I worked in my previous job and in my current job, I have been using a Windows environment. So don't get too attached to one or the other. I would say it's good to have a healthy knowledge of both, both Mac and Windows, so that way you can be flexible and you don't ever have to say, oh, I don't know anything about Windows, or oh, I don't know anything about Mac. Know a little bit of both if you can. I understand that may not be possible for everyone, but in my previous job, we had Surface, really beautiful Surface laptops, and they were super turbocharged Surface laptops that we used for everything. In my current job, we use just plain old Dell laptops for everything, high spec Dell laptops, but yeah, plain old Dells, both running Windows. So don't get too attached to one or the other. You might have to switch. Just use Chromebook. Yeah, right. Piece of Shoot says the same thing. Depends on the job. The ones I had always gave, and I think the startup culture. Absolutely, they're probably going to be more Mac environment focused, all that stuff. But more established companies, a lot of times they have contracts with Dell They have contracts with Lenovo. And so they're getting deals on Windows contract or on Windows laptops for like 20 years. And so they ain't going to switch. Just buying, off the shelf Macs is way too expensive compared to, the contracts that they have with these other companies like Dell or Lenovo or whatever. So don't count it out, I guess. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So let's think about what we need if we want to start building if we want to start building out our server.js file. So what's the very first thing I have to do if I want to start, start using Node, start using Express, and some of these other things? Yeah, npm init. Okay. And we're just going to go ahead and click through these things. We can always, all these settings that it's giving us, they're changeable later. So don't get too attached. Just click through them for now. You can always go back and change them later. Okay. npm init. Yep, exactly. So what did that do, right? It created our package.json file. And right now there's not much in there. We're going to add a few things. What's the other thing? What's the first automatic thing I'm going to go ahead and install in order to make creating, local hosts and that sort of thing much easier? Much faster, if that's a clue. Express, yeah. I know these are obvious questions and we just went over them in office hours, but it's just important to repeat and kind of remember like, okay, this is what I need. This is just get used to just like banging this stuff out, right? So you just know it by rote. And so if you're asked to do this in an interview, I don't know that you would be, but you would just be able to just fire it off, right? Yep. All right. So we're going to go ahead and do npm install express. Yep, piece of shoot. And I'm going to get there in just a minute. We will absolutely get there. Repetition, indeed. Yep. Okay, so now if we look at my package.json, right, I have a dependency here, and I can see I have express. Okay, perfect. So we're going to do a little coding, and then we're going to install another thing, but we're going to install a little bit later. We're going to do it without first, and then we're going to go ahead and install it. Exactly, piece of shoot. Yeah, we're going to get there, I promise. All right, so if I want to make sure that I'm able to use Express in my file, what do I need to do in order to make sure that I'm able to use it in the methods associated with Express? Ping pong, do we need to use the save flag? That's a very good question. So a lot of the tutorials and things that we've done so far, tell you to do that -- save, but that's no longer required. It's kind of cool. It just saves it anyway. It's an automatic thing. I think that's a new feature. You don't need the save flag. It's not going to hurt anything if you put the save flag, but we kind of discovered that on one of my past streams. Like, yeah, we don't need save. Somebody mentioned that they're like, I don't think you need save. And I'm like, really? And we tried it without, and you don't need it. So you can just do npm install whatever. Yeah. Yeah, and we're going to require, so in order to use Express, we're going to need to require it, right? Yes. Okay. And Cassava, yeah, we could send this to GitHub. I would love if you're able to code along instead. So I'm not going to send it to GitHub right away. It may be where I send it to GitHub later, and then you can, check back and take a look at it later if you're having trouble. For a lot of the solo projects that I do, the fun projects that we do together, I'll have it on GitHub already, so you can have a reference. But for homework, I'd prefer it if you're able to code along and sort of do your own work. And then I'll send it to GitHub later at some point. Yeah, and y'all have been filling in the blanks there. So yes, exactly. We're going to be doing const express equals require, and then express in quotes, right? Express, yes. Okay, const express, require express. And then the second thing we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and say const app equals express. So that way we can call those express methods later more easily. Russell says, yay for automatic saving. Those 7 extra characters were ruining my flow. I know, that dash just looks so ugly, right? You just got to get rid of that for aesthetic reasons. Full stack. Why do we need to use npm as opposed to yarn? I don't have a preference. npm installs automatically with the default installation of Node. So I think, we're right now we're focusing more on the concepts, right? That, like, what is a server? How do we do a local host? How do we get stuff out of an API? So rather than trying to do like tweaks and like customizations at this point, I think we're just kind of sticking with the defaults for now. Not that there's anything wrong with Yarn or any of these other things. I think sticking with the default just makes things less overwhelming for folks at this point. But yeah, I'm not using Yarn, and I'm not using Yarn because I have some sort of beef against it or anything. It's just npm is installed by default, so that's what we're going to use. We are vanilla mode. Indeed, we are vanilla mode for now. And then as we get more comfortable, we can start comparing the pros and cons of various tools and that sort of thing. But for now, we're more focusing on concepts. Yeah. Okay. So we've got those basics there. Now, that's really all we need to get started. We're going to do a little bit of customization before we finish this question, but let's just get started on putting some things in now. So they've given us the data that they want our API to kind of toss back to us. So I'm not going to type that out. I'm just going to copy and paste it. And based on the URL, this data is located at the person's location. So as much as I don't like this grammatically, I'm just going to go ahead and assign this array to a variable called persons. Let persons equal this entire array. Okay. And having it, assigned to a specific variable is just going to make it easier to manipulate. Yeah, and just copy and paste this. Don't type it out. There's no need for that. Oh, stretch. Okay. There we go. All right. Yeah, copy and paste. I use people, never like persons. It shouldn't exist. Yeah, I'm just using it because that's the location that they've given us here. So keeping things vanilla mode, like we said. Oh, and thank you for sharing that link, Smile Girl. I forgot to do that. So I appreciate you sharing the actual link to the homework. So click on Smile Girl's link if you don't know where the homework is. All right, so we've got this in here. Now we need to figure out, okay, fine, but how do I actually get it back? So if I send a request in my browser to this specific URL, how do I tell my server, let me move this down a little bit, how do I tell my server to send this back? What kind of request do I need to set up? What kind of method do I need to use? Server, get me persons. Exactly. Yeah. So it's going to be app.something, but what is it? Yeah, app.get, right? Because if I'm sending this request to the server, I'm asking to get something. I'm asking, please, hey server, yo server, get me persons. Exactly, like Piece of Shoot said. Get me persons, please. Exactly. So it's going to be app.get. And I also need to sort of alert my server to say, all right, get me persons when a certain URL is sent, when a certain URL path, when a certain path is received. So in that case, the path is given to us here, but I'm not putting in this entire path, right? Really, all I want is the section of the path that's after the root. And when I say root, I mean like the base URL. So in this case, our base URL is http localhost 3001, our port. And so I'm going to go ahead and copy. I'm going to get rid of that period there, but essentially I want to say, all right, when I go to this specific location, which is API/API/persons, then that's when you deliver me back this full list of persons. Okay. So now this method has 2 parameters. And what are those 2 parameters? Hey, Nene, you didn't miss too much. We're just setting up our basics for now. We're setting up a basic get request from our, and basically exercise 1 in section 3. Rec res, yes, exactly. And those stand for, like Akai Berry said, those stand for request and response, right? And they can be abbreviated by rec res. You'll probably see me use both, not because, well, partially because I'm kind of sloppy, but also, too, I think it's important to remember what they mean in both contexts because you'll probably see them used both ways. So, and this is essentially, so we have, this method has several requirements, one of which is the sort of the destination. The other one is these 2 parameters. And the other one, essentially the second requirement is a function which has these 2 parameters. And so we just turned this into an arrow function because it's a little cleaner. And if I am getting this data back from my server, if I'm getting data back from my server, is that what is that? Is that the request or is it the response? Which one is it? Yeah, it's the response, right? You'll notice I'm asking a lot of questions tonight, and that's because I feel like we've done these things a few times in class now and on streams, and so I'm asking a little bit more. I'm asking a little bit more of you, but y'all are doing well so far. So, all right, so right, it's a response. So, and in that case, what? Let's see. How do I want this to come back? Well, the standard response from that we expect from an API is, you smile because you know the answer is yeah, absolutely, you do. Right, the standard format that we get back, that we expect back from an API is JSON, absolutely, yeah. And so the magic of Express is that I don't have to declare like a type or anything like that. I can just say, hey, give me Express, turn this into JSON for me, would you? Thank you. Cool. And then I'm basically just saying, hey, grab all of persons for me, would you? Cool. Okay. So we're not focused on like any specific entries yet. We just want the whole thing to come back. Yes, Rascal is the one putting the timestamps on Leon's YouTube videos, and it's really cool. Rascal's come up with some kind of automated way to do it. It's like, it blows my mind. It's so cool. Yeah. Rascal is super awesome at automation, and Rascal also has streams. Hint, hint, subscribe to Rascal. Yes, they know a lot of things. They know many things. Okay, so we have our GET request now, and let's see, we've enabled Express. We have our object that's going to come back. We have our GET request. Are we done? What else do we need? What do we need to do in order to make our server make our localhost actually work? Yeah, we need to actually listen for requests, right? We need to make it start listening. Set it up and make it start listening. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and declare my port as a variable because we've kind of been doing that lately. Instead of hard coding it, we're going to declare it as a variable. And it could really be anything, right? But this text seems to use port 3001. So we're going to just do that. We're going to keep in keeping with the text. Oh, not post port. That's a different thing. Const port equals 3001. So, and then down here at the bottom, we're going to go ahead and set up an app.listen, and it's going to be listening on whatever port I keep typing that wrong, whatever port we specified. And then we can also, if we so choose, we can have essentially have it toss a message in the console when that server is running, and I think that's really useful because it says like, hey, look, your stuff's working as expected. It's not just hanging; it's actually running. So we're going to go ahead and add a message as well, and it doesn't take in any parameters, so we're just we don't have to declare any there. We're just going to say console log server active on let's see, yeah, port. Server active on port. Cool. That should do it. So we'll go ahead and save that. Now let's look back at the requirements for the question. All right, so it should return these values, which I think we've done. And the application must be started with the command npm start. Okay, let's think about how we can do that. Well, if we look back at our package.json file, there's actually something already in there under scripts, right? It says start. We haven't really used that before, but instead of typing node server.js, let's just try this. Let's just try npm start. Let's see if I made any mistakes. Oh, I got an error. Okay, let's see what I screwed up. Oh, it's already in use. I have it running somewhere. Uh-oh. I might have to change my port number. I've been messing around with this a lot today, so it's very possible that I have another port going at some point. Okay, let me change. I'm going to change my port number just to something different. I'm going to change it to 3005. I probably have another window open somewhere. I'm too lazy to find it, so. All right, let's try again. There we go. Okay, that worked. I'm too lazy to find my running port. I can't catch it. It's running too fast. It's too fast for me. So my server's running somewhere far away. So I just changed my port number and that works fine. There's plenty of ports out there. All right, so now if I want to actually see what's happening in the browser, I'm just going to go ahead and copy the URL that they gave us. Of course, I'm going to change it to the appropriate port number. And I'm just going to open it here in the browser. Ghost terminal is haunting you, I know. So I'm going to change it to, and my Chrome homepage is taunting me with brownie recipes. I looked at one like moose brownie recipe and it's taunting me. Chrome, what are you even doing? All right, check it out. So we've got all the objects in our array, right? Each of them just kind of laid out just as like so. So that's exactly what we wanted. Great first result. Oh, Edward, thank you so much for the sub. Thank you so much. Much appreciated, man. Y'all folks, I hope y'all are also spending, spend your Bezos bucks if you can, and just use your Prime subscription so you don't have to spend your own money. Yeah, I'm glad you're able to be on live too, Nene. Why don't we do the app get index? Because we don't have to. We can just get back. So think about when you're hitting an API, just to literally like get API data and deliver it down to your app. You don't care about an index.html like homepage. You don't care about the visual. You just want the data. And that's really what we're going for here, is we just want to grab that data and be able to pull it down. We want to be able to go to this specific API location and be able to just grab that data and pull it down if we really wanted to. In this case, we're just going to look at it in the browser. We're not delivering it into an app, but we're just pulling it up. Oh my goodness. Nene, thank you so much. I really appreciate. Wow, 2 months. Thank you so much. That's so appreciated. I can't believe it. Okay, so yeah, we're seeing everything in browser. So great start, go us. But we're not quite done, right? Because, all right, this application must be started with the command npm start. And we were able to do that because when we installed Express, I think that happened when we installed Express. It essentially gave us this default start script. And so it's a little faster than typing node server.js. We can just say npm start, please. And I actually, I think that was the other thing. Never mind. But yeah, so that's just a nice little trick. I didn't know that trick before. But we're not entirely done. So they also want us to be able to start our server on using npm run dev that will run the application and restart the server whenever changes are made and saved to a file in the source code. And it keeps you from typing noder server.js. I've absolutely done that. Absolutely. Okay, so if I want my server to restart automatically, what other thing do I need to install? If I want my server to just recycle every single time that every single time that I make a change, I need Nodemon or Nodemon if you prefer. I do think it's Nodemon, but their logo has a little like guy with horns. Like it's got little horns on it. So 6 of one, half dozen together. I don't know. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna stop the server for now using Control C, and I'm gonna do npm install Nodemon. Okay, perfect. Now, if we look at our package.json file, we can see, oh, and I was going to do it in dev. Dang it. Okay, I did that wrong. Sorry. I need to install it as a dev dependency just because it's not going to be something that we want to use in a production environment, having that constant resetting of the server. So well, I'm just gonna manually delete it from the from my package.json, remembering to remove that extra comma, and I'm gonna go ahead and save it. And so for the actual save command, let's go ahead and just look up. Oh, it's not gonna give me the menu. Hang on. I'm gonna scroll up just a little bit and get the because I want to illustrate that all this stuff is in the is actually in the text. So I'm not just pulling this out of my somewhere. All this is actually in the text. So let's find how we can install Nodemon as a dev dependency. It's somewhere. Nodemon, there we go. Okay, what do we need to do? We need to do npm install save dev Nodemon. Okay, yeah, save dev. Yep, exactly. So we'll grab that and drop it in. Let's try that now. There. Okay. Now that looks better. That looks much better. Okay. So now it's installed in the proper place, and it is installed as a dev dependency instead. Now that gets us part of the way there, right? We can use Nodemon now to have our server cycle automatically when we save, restart itself when we make a change to our code and save it. But if I want to assign it to that specific command of npm run dev, a little clue might be how we were able to run npm start before. Remember how we looked up here in scripts and there was this start key here, a key and then a property. So if I want to be able to also run a second custom command that lets me start Nodemon, then I can also add it to my scripts up here and have it as like a command I can just run, which I think is pretty cool. I think you could probably do this with a lot of things. We've only used it for Nodemon really and Node so far, but I think that's kind of neat what you can do with those commands. And folks are giving some alternative commands for doing the installation or installing it as dev that may be a little quicker than writing it all out, right? Yeah, piece of shit, that's a good point. Just deleting something from the package file doesn't delete it from your it doesn't delete it. It doesn't uninstall it for you. You would need to uninstall it, but we need Nodemon anyway, so I didn't bother with that. I just put it in the other place. I did it properly the second time. Yeah, so we're gonna add it to scripts, right? And we want it to be run dev. So I'm gonna add a new property or new key here called dev. Oh, and I need a comma. Don't forget your commas. All right, dev. And I'm going to have it, when I say npm run dev, I want it to do Nodemon, can't spell, Nodemon server JS. Okay, and I'm going to save my package.json file. Yep, dev Nodemon server JS, exactly. Fiendish, yeah, sorry, fried dish. We are working on the homework that's due Tuesday. So if you want in on that, feel free to join us. We're doing the Node.js and Express exercises for Tuesday's homework to hopefully get you all set for Tuesday. All right, so we've got that in our scripts. So now we're going to go back to our server.js. Now let's see if we can activate Nodemon just using npm run dev. Hey, check it out. Very nice. Okay, so it clearly began Nodemon. We didn't get any errors, and you can see that it's starting Node server.js, and my server is active on 3005. Does it matter if you use single or double quotes? JavaScript is pretty agnostic about that. Unless you have something that already has like an apostrophe in it, then you would need to use double quotes around it. What exactly is the dev setup for again? Well, you mean as far as like having it as a dev dependency, like in here? I think that's just a best practice type thing, because if we were releasing this to production, we wouldn't be using Nodemon. Our our stuff would be hosted elsewhere. Our server would be running. We wouldn't really want to use Nodemon in a production environment. So we put it down here in the dev dependency section. And also too, it specifically, the question specifically asked us to set up this little dev shorthand script in order to be able to activate our server. This right here. Yeah, so the question did ask for that. I'm going to scroll down again. Sorry for the fast screen. Yeah, so down here it says the application must also offer an npm run dev command that will run the application and restart the server whenever changes are made and saved to a file in the source code. So we could have just left it as is, and you have to activate Nodemon through a long string or whatever. But in this case, they specifically asked us to set up that shorthand. Yep. Yeah. And so now Nodemon is working. We shouldn't see any difference in behavior. If I reload this, yep, all good, fine. Peachy keen. Okay. So that takes care of question 1. Any questions on question 1 before we go on to the next question? I'm going to hydrate real quick. And we'll probably take a break in about 15 minutes. I'm thinking we'll probably be able to get through the next question. And the slow part is the setup, right? It's setting up all the initial stuff. Things will move faster now that we've got all the groundwork laid. That's gonna help things function better. So, you can still use Node server.js, yes, but the advantage of Nodemon, is that it automatically restarts your server for you. If you just use Node server.js, you're gonna have to stop and start your server every single time you make a change. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It teaches you good practice as far as remembering to stop and start and all that sort of thing. It makes it so you don't become complacent. But for the purposes of this exercise, I mean, it told us to install Nodemon, so why not use it, right? Smalgar, did you install Nodemon? And remember, the command is not the command isn't Nodemon server.js. The command is actually npm run dev. Why do we not need to type run for npm start? That's a good question. The text actually talks about that a little bit. I think that has to do with like start being like a default. it's it's like a default command. It just kind of happens automatically. Whereas dev is something we've kind of, this command is something we've added ourselves. And so we have to have that extra like little, little run command in there. I'm not 100% on that though, why that is, but start seems to be a default versus anything else that we add. Full stack, you can type Nodemon server.js and get the same. I think only if you've installed Nodemon globally, which we have not. I might be wrong on that, but I think there's a difference between installing it globally versus installing it locally for a single project. Edward, Chemo Wrath has shared the link for the homework there where we're at. Nene, yes. So if we have Nodemon installed, that's the cool thing about Nodemon, is that every time you make a change to server.js or another, it's listening on all your JavaScript files. So if you make a change for, say, if you have like another, like your another JavaScript file that's not server.js, if you make a change on it, it's listening and it's going to restart each time. So it'll capture your changes, which I think is pretty cool. So npm start was always an option to start server, and we didn't have to say node server.js. Yeah, it just kind of happens. I didn't know it. I didn't know that either until I read this, which that's why read the text, read it, and code along with the, like I said, I'm not going to read it to you, but you should still read it and code along with each of the examples, because it's got, I really like this tutorial. It's got good stuff in here. It's a little like it glosses over a few things occasionally, but I like it. So read it, code along with it, because there's good stuff in there. Like that npm start thing, which I didn't know. Justin, thank you for this sub. Wow, y'all are bringing it tonight. I love you guys. Man. Yeah, start works as a command because it's already created for us, like we looked at earlier, right? It was already there the whole time. There's nothing wrong with still using Node server.js. Yeah, they both work. Yep. Oh, thank you, Justin. You've been watching on YouTube. That's great. Cool beans, indeed. Okay, so actually, before we go on to the next question, I want to go ahead and make sure that everybody here is set up with Postman. We are going to be using Postman a little bit later on, and before we get into the actual like meaty kind of things we're going to be trying to do with Postman, I want to make sure that everybody has it, because you need it. Leon has been saying, to install Postman, use it. But I'm sure, a lot of folks just haven't done it yet. So now's the time, because we physically need Postman in order to do some of these exercises. So time's up. You got to install it. And make sure that make sure that you're installing the desktop client. So I can literally give you the direct link to where you download the desktop client. So no excuses. This is for the Windows version. It looks like there's a link for Mac as well. So I'll let you all figure that out. I'm not going to speak to that. But here's the link. Coding is easier than getting a dang earpad back on my son's headphones. I've experienced that struggle. Yes. Postman is a good tool. Yeah. It takes a little bit getting used to, but we're going to practice with it a little bit and maybe get some level of comfort with it. It's good for, for testing existing APIs, but we're actually going to use it to do some post requests in the later exercises to actually create some data on our little practice API. Postman Pat, indeed. So yeah, go ahead and install Postman. And get that up and running on your local machine. There is a browser version, but as far as it doesn't work, it doesn't play nice with local hosts like what we're using. So install the desktop version, and let me know if you have any trouble with it. It's pretty straightforward. It just launches right away. You need to create an account, but no big deal. Yeah, it's cake once you're in. Exactly. Okay, so once you have that installed, go ahead and open it. And we're just basically going to do the same thing that we just did here, whereas we navigate to our local host and our port, and we're going to open that in Postman. Okay. I just want to, just a soft introduction because we're going to be using it later. But I want to show you just how to do that real quick in Postman. Hey, what up, Commander Cool? Welcome. Good to see you. npm run. Mavi, did you change your package JSON file and save it? You got to make sure that you saved your package JSON file. It's very possible you just put the script in there and then didn't hit save, because I've absolutely done that. So make sure that you've installed Nodemon, number one, and also make sure that you've pasted this line in your package.json file and that you saved your package.json file. Okay, so I'm going to copy this URL so I have it. I'm going to open my desktop version of Postman. And by default, it should kind of take you to this like workspace here, this basic workspace. And hey, Barrow, welcome. Thanks for the great content. What days are you streaming these classes on? So if you look at my Twitch channel, you can see my schedule. There's a schedule tab on my Twitch channel, but I do Wednesdays and Sundays. Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm thinking about moving the Sunday streams up a little bit earlier. I was going to ask you guys' opinion on that later, but I'm considering it. But yeah, right now, those 2 days. Do !Twitter to follow me on Twitter, where I always talk about the stream topics ahead of time and any schedule changes. So if for some reason I have to cancel or anything like that, I announce it on Twitter first. So yeah. Postman desktop doesn't work for me. Looked up why and couldn't figure it out. I know Leon has a Mac and he's using the Postman desktop client. You could always do an Ask Leon and see if he might be able to point you toward it, some sort of an article or something that might help you diagnose the problem. Oh, hey, that's no problem, Barra. There's no harm in asking. I just want to make sure you are aware of all the places, where I keep that schedule. So if there's any changes, you'll see it. Okay. So anyway, we are in the workspace here. We're in the workspace for Postman. Now, if I want to start a new, if I want to start sending requests to a specific API, I can just go up here to New, or I could probably click the little New tab button up there too. And I'm just going to choose HTTP request. And now you can see here, it takes me to a request page. And by default, it's set to GET, which is what we're doing here, what we've been doing sort of manually in the browser anyway. So that's perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste in my URL, localhost, API, persons. And let's just go ahead and send that request and see what we get back. Oh, hello. Yeah, so this is nice. We got back all of the things that we had at that address, and they're all nicely formatted. They look better than they did in the browser, right? So that's good. So we can see all that there in Postman. Now, what we're going to be using Postman for later is additional types of requests. So if I click on this little drop down here, I can see that, wow, there's a lot of things that I can do. I can get, post, put, patch, delete, copy, head, blah, 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 blah. We've got a lot of things, right? We're really going to only be using it for get, post, and delete. But it's kind of cool. There's a lot of other things you could potentially do. But for now, we're going to keep it on get, and then we're going to get to the other things later. You like how Postman is designed? Yeah, it's pretty good. It seems like it can do a lot. I just don't know all the features yet. Yeah, I think the link that I sent you should be for the app itself. At least I hope so, not the agent. Because I think the agent is just like a handler that helps with CORS issues and facilitates using the browser client but it helps you get around CORS. But Leon did specify the full desktop app is what you want in order to handle these localhost things. Default white, yeah, that is a little rough, right? I didn't know there was a dark mode. I'll have to switch it. Yours is Snarfin. I may have missed something. Mine's not coming up with the Postman, but does in my browser. So you can open the you can open the browser version, not the um, but not the desktop version. Is that right? Hey, Brooke, welcome. We are doing the FullStackOpen exercises that are due Tuesday. And so it's exercises, the Node.js and Express exercises to be specific. So we're working through those, and we're just doing a quick introduction to Postman because we're going to be using Postman to send some post requests and delete requests in later exercises. So we're just doing a GET request on it now just to get folks familiar looking at the interface and seeing, what it can kind of do from a basic perspective and getting it installed as well. Folks you need the desktop client for this. Glad it's helpful, Brooke. Oh, just putting localhost in your browser, not Postman. Snarfin, you were able to get to Postman though. Okay, it sounds like you were able to get to Postman. So make sure that you go to HTTP requests, like when you go to new, make sure HTTP request and make sure that you are this is set to get here, and then you're pasting in the entire URL. Yeah, Commander, feel free to catch the VOD later. No worries at all. Yeah, hopefully, after Brooke, hopefully after doing the exercises that, you can go back to the reading because I do think it's got some good stuff in there. It does go a little fast in some places, but there's good stuff in there in some places. So, okay, I think let's go ahead and, while everybody's getting Postman installed and, hopefully getting it working, there is another option too. If you can't get Postman working, in the text, it talks you through how to install a specific like REST client within VS Code. So look in the text for that. And you can also install that like an extension, a plugin for VS Code that's the REST client. I'm using Postman just because that's what Leon recommends, so I'm sticking with that. But the REST client, that plugin for VS Code is also available. So if Postman isn't working for you, then feel free to use that instead. It does all the same things right in VS Code. So for folks that are having trouble installing this additional piece of software, that may work better using just a plugin for VS Code. So FYI, it's in the text. So just look for it there, and you can search for it in the plugin list, the extension list in VS Code, and feel free to install it during the break if you would like to. Serious, I forgot to use it from my last boot camp, and I had to delete a bunch of workspaces because they were out of date. Yeah, well, you can see I've got quite a history. I've been messing with this quite a bit. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and take a break. Give folks a chance to kind of get their environment set up and everything. And I will see you all back here in 5 minutes. And I think I'm going to feed my dogs, and so I'll see y'all back here shortly. 5-minute timer. Boop. Perfect. Okay, zoom in a little bit. Actually, I can make this full screen. There's no problem with that. All right, reset that for you. There we go. Okay, I'll see y'all back here shortly, and we'll keep on trucking. Okay, folks, come on back. We've got about a minute before we get back into it. Somebody asked, which REST client is it in VS Code? Yeah, it's the one with the most installs, the one with like 2.4 million. And if you're still not sure, there is, like I say, there is actually a direct link to like the web page for it in the text itself. So you can always scroll up and find that. I don't remember exactly where it is. Zena, are you using the desktop client or the browser version? Oh, it works now. Oh, good. Okay. Sweet. All righty. Just about to start it back up again. I'm going to also fix my sound here. I'm going to go ahead and stop the timer so it doesn't beep at you. And I'm also going to just adjust my sound real quick. Hopefully that works. There we go. Okay. I should be able to hear the alerts now. All right, cool, perfect. So we just got Postman running, and because we're going to need that for some exercises coming up, but not just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize Postman, and we're going to go back to the exercises and see what we're being asked to do next. Starbucks, hey, welcome. What would you like to see? Do you want to see what we're working on? Right now, we're working on this FullStackOpen homework. I just pasted the link there. Let's see. Yes, can I read? Yeah. Are you, Chemo posted the link. Thank you, Chemo. So if you're in 100 devs, we have some homework that's due on Tuesday. And we are currently working through it. We're building out each of the exercises 1 through 8. And all we did was we just finished exercise 1 in the homework section down at the bottom in the reading. We finished the first question and kind of did our initial setup of our server and that kind of thing. And now we also set up Postman so that we could do some stuff later on. And now we're also going to, keep going through the exercises. Yeah, the exercises are all the way at the bottom. If you have the page in full screen, it actually gives you a nice little menu off on the left, and you can go straight to the exercises. Hey, Universal, welcome. Good to see you. Alrighty. So, question 2. What are we being asked to do? Implement a page at the address localhost info, so a different address that looks roughly like this. Okay, and it's asking us to deliver some information. It says the page has to show the time that the request was received and how many entries are in the phone book at the time of processing the request. Interesting. Okay, so we're being asked to not just deliver the information that's there in our API, we're being asked to deliver like access information and information about the contents versus the contents themselves, which I think is kind of interesting. Did you click on the link that Chemo sent? Yeah, look on the left sidebar, and there should be a thing that says like exercises 3.1 through 3. Whatever. You can either scroll all the way down to the bottom, or you can, yeah. Here, let me just full screen it for you. All right. So, looking at the page, there should be a big menu off to the left. Look right here. Exercises 3.1, 3.6. There you go. Yeah. No worries. It's hard to find, especially because there's a lot here. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And I didn't turn my webcam back on. Man, y'all gotta tell me. There we go. Exercises 3.1, 3.6. Okay, and that's where we're at. Cool. All right, let me get this back situated again. Whoa, what is happening? Okay, that was weird. All right. Stop. I don't know what's happening. That's all right. We'll figure it out. Okay. There we go. And we're back. Okay. So 3.2, we're being asked to deliver back some data. So there's a couple ways we could do this. we could do it. We could create a whole index.html page. We could, write to the DOM. Sorry, I don't know why it's displaying my desktop there. We could write to the DOM, but we don't necessarily have to. We don't have to get that crazy. All we're being asked to do is display 2 lines of data here, right? Like, I don't want to build out a whole page for that and worry about writing to the DOM and bring HTML, like a specific HTML page into the equation. So, hey, Plebo, welcome. Plebonian user, nice name. Okay, so let's think about ways that we could do it without using an actual HTML file. How can we get HTML displaying in the browser without using an HTML file? Okay, interesting. Anybody have any guesses on how we could do that? Is there a particular method that we could use to just send back like a couple lines of text? Yeah, res.send, right? Yeah, we could just send back because we don't want a whole page here. We're not trying to do that. Yeah, we're just gonna res.send a couple of lines of text, no big deal. Okay, and we can just go ahead and put it. I'm gonna put it above our listen here, and so again, I'm gonna have another GET request because this is another GET request. It's just requesting from a different location. So in this case, we want to request from info. So let's see. We want app.get. And there's no API on this one, so it should just be info. Cool. /info. Yep. /info. That should do it. And then again, we have our request and response. And our arrow function. All right. And now, what are the 2 elements that we need? We need info about the people, and we need a date. Okay, so the first thing I think I want to do is I want to capture the current date so that I can use it in my string. So how do I do that? How do I grab whatever the current date, and so it's a date time, right? They want it to be a date time. So how do I capture the current date time? Anybody remember? This is like a blast from the past. We haven't done this in a while. So const something, const current date equals what? Yeah, date, but it's important. We got to get the syntax of it right. And a couple of folks nailed it there. So we're gonna say new date. Okay, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna bring back the current date and time, and it should bring it back in your particular time zone, wherever that is. So wherever you are, it should bring back the current date time adjusted for you. You can always adjust it yourself. There's ways to do that, to UTC or whatever you want. But I think just date is going to bring it back in Eastern for me by default because that's where I am. So welcome, Noah. Good to have you. Okay. So current date, new date, and now we want to do our res.send. And inside of our actual send, we can actually include some HTML tags. I know separation of concerns, but I do not want to just build a whole separate index.html file. So we're going to get a little, we're going to get a little iffy here. All right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to bend the rules a little bit. And oh, thank you for the bits. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. Good to have you, Runkio. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just hard code some HTML tags in here. I'm going to use H2. Just the only reason I'm doing that is because I want it to be nice and big, and I want it to make sure it's on 2 separate lines. You could use spans. You could use any other tag that you want. And FullStack sharing some knowledge there. The only correct way to instantiate a new date object is by using the new operator like we did here, new date. Whoops. Yeah, new date. And let's see, if you call the date object directly, such as now equals date, the return value is a string rather than a date object. Oh yeah, that's interesting. I always just use new date because I just thought that was what you're supposed to do. But yeah, that's interesting. I appreciate knowing that. And it's from the MDN, so even better. All right, so we're being expected to say phone book has info. Phone book has info for, and then obviously this needs to be a variable here. So I'm just going to put a placeholder there for just a second, and we'll fill that in a sec. For such people, for however many people are in there. It's not going to be 2. It's going to be 4, I believe. For 2 people. And then, so that's going to close my H2. Oh, it needs to be inside the string. My bad. And then my second H2 is going to be the second line. So H2. Can't type today. I'm literally like, I have to reach around my makeshift mic stand in order to type anything. So it makes it even harder. I really need to buy a mic stand. Thank you for the bit, Noel Panda. I appreciate it. All right, current date. And we'll go ahead and close that H2 as well. Okay, so now how can I get the current count of items inside of my, it's going to be the count of items inside of my persons array, right? We have an array called persons, and that's what displays in the browser. And so they just want the count of item inside of it. Yeah, right? That's easy. We know that. We know that from all of our work with arrays and all of our work with objects. Yeah, persons, I know. I should have called it people. I mean, yeah, it grammatically nonsense. All right, persons dot length. Okay. So now what that should do is it should just send those 2 lines back whenever I visit this specific address. So we can go ahead and try that. Let's test it out. And since I'm running Nodemon, remember, as soon as I save, you'll see that my server restarts itself automatically, right? So let's watch that happen as well. And okay. Hello, server restarted, perfect. So now we should just be able to go back to our local host and just change this URL to be info. See if that works. Hey, nice. Okay, so we got back phone book has info for 4 people, which is correct. And then it also brought back the current date and time. Excuse me, I'm going to hydrate. Yeah, pretty nice. Yep, perfect. So that way we didn't have to make a whole index file. We didn't have to worry about writing things to the DOM or inner text or anything like that. For just these couple lines, it's perfectly fine to use just, a send method. This is too much power. I feel so powerful. I can write things from an API to the browser. Yeah, I'm glad you think it's cool. It is neat. It is neat what you can do. Okay. So that wasn't too bad, right? Question 2. Crossed off. Perfect. Sometimes you have to restart the server to get it to work, even though if you have errors in your code, Nodemon won't run automatically. And also, if you're visiting the same page again, like you've made a change and you're just going back to the same page, you'll have to restart. You have to, reload your browser page. So there's a limitation there where if you've made a change, you can see like when I reload, the time doesn't update unless I reload the page, right? So if I make changes in my server, then I do need to still reload the page, even though Nodemon is going to restart it for me. So many options or ideas on how to utilize APIs. Yes, this is the magic. This is where the magic happens. We made more mind gone mad with power. Oh man, I've gone mild with power. I'm I'm mild with power. Don't know what else to tell you. Okay, so question 3. Let's move on. We're powering through. We're doing good. We are doing the homework that's due Tuesday. So if you want a head start on the homework, again, I'm going to say, read the text. Even if we're doing the homework now together, read the text because it's good. It's a good tutorial. I liked it. It had some things I didn't know, lots of things I didn't know, and it gives great examples. So you can just literally read and code along, and it's nice. So good tutorial. All right. Step 3, implement the functionality for displaying the information for a single phone book entry. The URL for getting the data for a person with the ID of 5 should be API persons 5. Okay, makes sense, right? If the entry for a given ID is not found, the server has to respond with the appropriate status code. Okay, so from what we know about just using the internet in general, what is the status code for when something is not found? When you try to go to a web page and there's a broken link, what does it serve back at you? 404. I think everybody knows that one. You've all seen that at some point in your life, right? Dang it, this link was supposed to work and it brings me to a freaking 404 page. Yeah, exactly. Yep. 404 not found, indeed. All right. NBMI Figlet. Yeah, 502 is also fun, indeed. Which one is that one? I know the number is familiar, but I don't remember what that is specific. Is that a timeout? Or okay. So if I want to add that, so basically what we're doing here is, we're adding several GET requests, right? Each of these are GET requests, but just to a different location every single time. Plebonian, you can do !Leon, and that should get you what you're looking for. Oh, bad gateway. Okay. Yeah, I'll do it for you, Leon. There you go. That'll give you some links to the 100 Devs community if you are interested. The website, the Discord, the Twitch. Okay. So again, we're going to set up another GET request, and I'm going to put it above my listen here. We're just setting up GET requests so that when people hit different variants of the URL, they're going to get different information, right? It's not a big deal. Somebody posted on Discord a couple days ago all the status codes, but like associated with dog pictures that like described what each code was, saying. And I thought it was hilarious. It was great. It was like status dogs or something. It was the site. I don't remember specifically, but it was really funny. All right. So the URL that they want us to hit is API, with a slash, persons. Now, I want to pass in, I don't want to hard code this, right? I don't want to hard code 5. I want to be able to pass in whatever number I want and then have it bring me back the appropriate resource from the API. So the cool thing about Express is it does give us a little bit of a shorthand in order to do this. It says Express knows that we're going to want to be passing in these sorts of variable elements, right? And so we can give Express a clue that that's something that we want to do. So what can I use? What character can I use to allow me to pass in a variable element of some kind? Yeah, blind devotion. Yeah, so it's essentially it's a colon, right? Using a colon and then something after that will essentially tell Express, hey, yo, Express, this is going to be a parameter. This is going to be something that is going to control, what gets delivered back. It's going to be a request parameter, right? So in this case, we're just going to call it ID because that's the element that we're looking up, right? It's the ID on our individual resources within the API. So okay, so that's what the URL is going to look like. However, when I pass this URL into the browser, I'm not going to use that colon. That colon is just telling Express what it's supposed to do. So I'm just going to write when I pass it into the browser, I'm just going to write the URL like normal. That can be a little confusing if you haven't seen it before. So just thought I'd make sure that was called out. Again, we're going to have our request and our response, rec-res, and our arrow function. This should be getting familiar, right? You should be getting some muscle memory on how to write how to write a get, hopefully. Just with, just little variations each time, right? Slightly different, but again, it's a standard framework, right? It's Legos, like Leon always says. It's Legos, and you get to decide how you put them together. It's the same thing each time. It's not mysterious. We just decide how we put them together. Okay, so rec res, and if I want to pull that specific ID parameter out of the URL, what do I need to, what statement do I need in order to say, hey, Express, grab that ID parameter out of the URL? This might be a little bit of a harder question, but you can feel free to cheat. You can look in the text, or we also did it in our past project, in our Star Trek project. Yeah, right. It's going to be request. So I'm going to set it to a variable too. I'm just going to go ahead and declare a variable const ID is going to get that request dot params, because parameter, and then dot ID is the parameter that I'm pulling out of the URL. Yeah, exactly. Yep, request params ID. Perfect. And this exact same example is in the text too. So some of y'all might have seen it. Yep, we're literally just copying from the example text, but just with using a different data set essentially. Okay, so hint. All right, now I want to pull out that specific. So we've got the ID, perfect, and I want to look through my person array in order to locate the specific ID if it exists. And then if it doesn't exist, I want to return a status of 404, because it said, the question told us if it doesn't exist, the server has to respond with the appropriate status code. So we can do that. We can say, all right, const, I think I can say like entry, const entry is persons. Now, I think the example in text uses find, which is fine. We can do just a find on that, and find entry. And entry.id. So essentially just look through, it's really blocking things. Entry.id equals ID. Yeah. Okay. So essentially what this is doing is it's saying, all right, look inside of our persons array and see if there's one that matches. And if it does, if that ID matches one of the ones that's actually in the array, then assign it to this entry object. So look through it, bring back the matching one, and assign it to the entry object. Perfect. Now we need to check and say, all right, fine, that's all well and good. But we also want to make sure that we're, I need to make sure this is it needs to be inside of the Git. There we go. That's all well and good, but we also now need to evaluate whether or not it actually did find it or not. So we can just do a very simple check to see if this entry is valid or not. The simplest way to do that is just to say if entry then pass it back. Else, we'll fill that in just a second. Else, then return the 404 status. Yeah, and that's another thing I was going to mention, piece of shoot. So there's two different ways you could do this. It's important to remember that, it's important to remember that the difference between like numbers and strings, if you're looking at this object on the server, you could run into an issue where you're trying to compare a number to a string. If you're doing a strict comparison here, string to number, number string. If you're doing a strict comparison here, you're going to run into trouble. And the text even goes through that specific comparison. They have you do a strict comparison first, and then they have you investigate the error, which I really like. They tell you different ways to investigate the error and console log it and see what's wrong. And then in the end, what they do have you just switch it back to a double equals, which takes out the type comparison. It just says, hey, if it's a string and a number and they're the same thing, then they're fine. You can match it up. However, like Piece of Sheet says, you can also wrap your ID here and in a number conversion, in a type conversion to number, which will also work. And we're actually going to do that a little bit later. We're gonna experiment. We're gonna use both options in this exercise. But for this first one, we're just going to do a double equals, so it doesn't care whether it's a string or a number. It's just going to check for equality. Yeah. Yep, Nialo. Yep, we're using Express right now. I'm glad you like it. Okay, so if entry, it's truthy, right? It exists. It's truthy. Perfect. So it'll go ahead and evaluate this if statement. So like we said before, if I want to pass back, an object as JSON, how do I do that? If I want to pass back whatever I get back from the server, if I want to package that up as JSON and send it back, what do I do? Yeah, you could do this as a ternary if you wanted. Yep. Yeah, res.json, exactly. Res.json, and we're just going to pass back entry. Okay. Else, if it's not valid, then I want to send back a 404. Okay. So I can, and else only, yeah, no, that's fine. It's not something we've really done before, but it's what's cool to me anyways. It seems like Express has basically a method for everything. It even has a method called status. What do you know? Hey, welcome, Jim. What do you know? It even has a method for status. And so we can just plug in our status code. And then we can also say, all right, send back the status code and then end the request. We are terminating this request. It's done. Hey, Nene, thanks for stopping in. Like I say, the VODs are always there. Never feel bad if you have to drop off. The VODs are there on my Twitch for 60 days, and then they go to YouTube. So no worries at all. And exclamation point YouTube if you need my YouTube channel. I'm under a different name there on YouTube, so feel free to do exclamation point YouTube. There you go. Moobot should give it to you. Okay. Wolf, are you just a super fast learner, or do you study for 7 hours every day? I guess I'm a fast learner in that, I mean, I am already a developer. I'm a SQL developer already, so I have a little bit of a head start. I don't study for 7 hours every day. No, I have a day job and I have other things, going on. I do intensely prepare for these streams. I devote usually at least a few hours of prep, either the day before or the day of, prepping for exactly what I want to talk about on these streams. So a lot of it is very focused. It's not like I understand literally everything about all of these, about everything in this text. It's like I laser focus in on specifically the things that I want to talk about and make sure that I have a decent grasp of them. So it's very focused, and very like the projects that I do on stream. You don't see the stuff that I failed at or the stuff that didn't work. You only see the things that did work, right? So it's kind of cherry picked to, the stuff that I feel like I can present adequately. So don't get yourself down on like, oh, I didn't get that or anything like that, because you're seeing it's like with Instagram or whatever, right? You see you only see the good parts. Oh, Rascal said, okay, so somebody asked, what you're saying is it's sorcery. Yeah, teaching definitely helps solidify the content, the lessons for me quite a bit. It also holds me accountable. I can be kind of a procrastinator in real life if I don't have the appropriate motivation, and so streaming helps motivate me quite a bit because folks are expecting this kind of thing, right? So somebody asked, why do we need to add .end? And Rascal had a really great exclamation there. So if you're calling res.send, it automatically calls res.end after it. But if you don't do res.send, then you need to call res.end manually yourself, right? Which is what we've done here because we did not use res.send, we used res.status. So it's a great explanation there. It worked. Good deal. Okay. Did I even say this yet? No, I didn't. All right. I've saved it. Perfect. So now let's see if we can retrieve one specific entry from our little phone book. Okay, and for that, the URL is API persons, and then we can choose 1, 2, 3, whatever. All right, we'll just do 1 for now. Hey, nice. Perfect. So we're able to get back a specific entry from our phone book if we would like to. 2 is Ada Lovelace. 3, 4, they're all going to work. Now let's see what happens if I try to do 6. Uh-oh. Right? That's expected, right? That's not a valid entry. So, but look at the error that we got. I don't know if y'all can see that. It's very small. But look, 404. That's exactly what we wanted. We wanted it to throw a 404 error if the item wasn't found. So we're essentially giving the browser guidance on, hey, something went wrong, but here's what went wrong, and here's what you should tell the user. So that's pretty cool too. Oh, thank you, DriveNet. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it makes me talk the talk, right? Do I play music or podcasts when I prepare for streams? I mean, I'll listen to like YouTube or podcasts sometimes. It just depends on if I'm really focused in, then I don't listen to anything at all because I just get distracted. Ray says, I learned this on our first break. If you use request and response as parameters, you must use response JSON, response send. Makes sense. You got to have, you got to either, you got to send back the a response somehow. Because then that also implicitly then ends the request as well, right? So otherwise there's no indicator to end the request. Or to end the get. Expected 404 sounds weird, indeed. Totally gotta have Figlet here for the fancy 404s. Indeed, you are welcome to install it if you would like to. Figlet makes errors less scary. Chris, maybe I'll mention a couple podcasts on our next break. Yeah, is find an express method or JS method? Yeah, it's just a method. It's just an array method. It's kind of a blast from the past, right? If you haven't looked at array methods in a while, you might want to go back in your Anki and review those. Yeah, find is a array method. Feel free in javascript.info, go back to that javascript.info chapter on array methods, and I think you'll see it there. I basically just use that like on standby during doing Code Wars. Okay. Cool. So that's behaving as expected, I think. All right, let's go ahead and go on to step 4. This one's interesting. Okay. Implement functionality that makes it possible to delete a single phone book entry by making an HTTP delete request to the unique URL of that phone book entry. So we're gonna visit the URL of a phone book entry, and then once we do that, we want it to just blast it, just delete it, get rid of it. Test that your functionality works with either Postman or the VS Code REST client. So it's up to you which one you use. I'm going to use Postman, but you're welcome to use the VS Code client as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just add another type of request down here above our listen. Hey, good job, Kima. You got it. That's awesome. Okay. So if I want to delete something, what method do I need to use? Should be a softball question, I hope. Don't think too hard. Yeah. Yeah. It's delete. I'm not trying to trick you. App.delete. Hooray! Delate, indeed. As Leon might say. It's delete. Yes. It makes me think of that Finding Nemo with where Dory is reading they're inside the submarine and Dory's reading and she's like, escape. Hey, that's spelled just like escape. So that's what I thought of immediately when Leon says that. Escape. It's what the cool kids use. Indeed. We're all super cool here. Right? Right? Okay. So again, but even though it's a different type of method, it's going to have a very similar setup. So we should be very familiar with it for now. So the first thing I need my where I want it to go. I guess the URL, the structure of the URL that I want to trigger this delete request. And they told us that if I make a HTTP delete request to the unique URL, okay. So essentially what we can do is we can just copy the same address. Whoa, sorry. We can copy the same address from our Git up here because we're going to be doing the same thing, right? It's just we're going to be using Postman to send a different type of request. So by default, if we visit this URL in the browser, it's going to be a Git request, right? But that's why we're going to use Postman to change what type of request we're sending. We're going to be sending a delete request instead, just to the same location. So rec and res, arrow, cool. Okay. Now, as we discussed earlier, right, there's a couple different ways that you can you can deal with the issue of passing a number versus a string and trying to do that comparison. In this case, we're going to go ahead and do what Piece of Shoot suggested earlier and say const ID equals request parameter, but we're going to convert it to a number. So I'm going to go ahead and use number. You could also do the quick unary operator, the plus sign. I'm going to use number for this just because. So rec params ID, convert that to a number. Right, because the object itself is not, when we're doing that comparison on the server side, it's not JSON yet, so it's not a string. All right, so in this case, we're going to say, essentially what we want to do is we want to remove the element with that specific matching ID from our array. So what's a way that we could do that? What's a way that we could search for, locate a specific ID and then remove it? And then essentially we're gonna get it out of there, and then we're essentially gonna reassign it to the same variable. Fragile must be Italian from Christmas Story. Yeah. We're gonna we can just use filter for this. Yeah, or you could do find index and splice too. Yeah, we're gonna use filter, but like a lot of things with arrays, there's a few different ways you could do that. Yep. We're going to use filter, but you can do it in whatever way makes it happen. All right. So in this case, we're just going to say, we're going to reassign persons back to itself. But then we're going to just filter persons, filter, and we're going to filter it down only to the entries that do not have a matching ID. So entry So filter it down to the entries that do not, where it's not equal to the ID that we're passing in. Okay. So persons filter, filter it down to the entries that don't match, and reassign to persons. And then in the end, we also do need to return a status of some kind. Smilegar asks, why did we make ID a new variable in delete when it was already assigned in app.get? That's a very good question. So remember, scope. Scope is important. Scope, when variables are assigned within a function, they are trapped within the boundaries of that function. Yeah, scope, baby, indeed. Right. That variable isn't going to work inside of another function. What would I need to do if I wanted to make a variable work inside all of my functions? What kind of, where do I need to assign it? Going back to basics here. It's good to review. Global, right? Yeah, I would need to assign it like up top, like we did for for some of our other stuff. I would need to assign it globally outside of a function, so that way I could use it inside. But for these types of things, we want to keep these kind of self-contained requests. Yeah, but don't, please, indeed, don't do that. Yeah, just do it. Just do it inside of your individual requests, and keep things in scope. Keep things in best practice. Yeah. Averagely sized rabbit. I hold the array methods in my brain, and I just do a filter on them to get the one I need. That's perfect. I love that. I use the array methods to get the array methods. Thanos style. No, and I mean, honestly, for array methods, I mean, if I'm churning out code wars, I just have that javascript.info page on array methods like open, and then just do like control F on it if there's something I don't remember. Because the real world isn't like college where you're not allowed to Google stuff. When you're on the job, you can Google, but it's still good to have as much in your brain as you can. But don't fret about having everything in your brain. Just get as much in there as you can, and anything else you can Google, or have a set of resources that you can always just visit. Okay. All right. So persons, we're filtering it, and then we're reassigning it back to itself. So theoretically, that should do it. If it doesn't, we'll find out. All right, now I do need to send back a status. So this is just you're just going to trust me on this. This is in the text. It advises that when you do a delete, you should send back a status of 204, which I believe is resource not found. It's one of those things, it's just like you can either send back 404 or 204, but 204 just specifically kind of indicates what you've done, which is you've deleted. You can't find it because you deleted it. So so we're just going to send that back. That, again, that's just what the text says is best practice. So I'm trusting that as far as the best thing to send back. Okay, so let's test out our ability to delete something by sending a delete request. Let's see if that works. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. If all else fails, I'll tattoo the array methods on you. Why not? Yeah, whatever you want to do. Maybe a temporary tattoo. I don't know. Sharpie on the arm. You can do a Sharpie on the arm. That'll wash off eventually. No regrets. Oh man, y'all are quick on the memes today. I love it. For the entry, the ID is just a number, but the entry itself is the object. Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, let's see if we can delete it. Now, remember that if I'm sending this in the browser, it's just going to do a get. So in order to do a delete, I'm going to need to bring up our friend Postman. And so we'll just do a get real quick. We'll just make sure it still works. This is just a get on persons. Now let's go ahead and do a get on a specific item. So we'll do a get on item 1. Oh, hang on. I think that's wrong. API. Oh, sorry. Persons There we go. And then the ID there. Okay, brings back ID1. Now let's delete ID1. Cool. Okay, so how do I do that? Well, all I need to do is in Postman, I just need to change this from get to delete. Okay. So what we should expect is we should expect to see essentially nothing come back, right? But then our little status indicator here should change from 200 OK to the status that we told it to return, which is 204. So let's see if we get that. All right. Let's see. Did I? Somebody mentioned something here. Before we do that, let me just. Well, let's try it. I might have screwed this up, but let's see. It's not going to hurt anything. Oh, hello, 204. No content. All right, that's what we wanted, right? We told it to return a 204, which is no content. We didn't get anything back. So now let's see what our full persons list looks like, right? So I should see now, instead of 1 through 4, I should see 2 through 4 only. Oops. Ooh. That's wrong. I need to send it back to Git. I forgot to switch it back to Git. My bad. First, well, second try, I guess, if you count this part. Oh, did it not delete it? Okay, so send us back the right status, but it may not have actually deleted it. Let's see. Let me check this again. Oh, yeah, the person that said that was right. I did make a mistake here. I was thinking I might have done, but I was like, well, let's just try it anyway. Yeah, so somebody mentioned that, hey, I didn't actually compare a specific ID of the entry against the ID that we're passing in. So that's why. It gave us back the right status just because we hard-coded that. But yeah, so let's try that again. One more time. Second try. Crispy Nugget was a little quick on the first try there. We'll go for round 2. All right, so persons again has 4 entries. I'm going to change it to delete. It's okay, Krish. I'm sorry. I'm not going to give you those channel points back. All right. Well, let's see if we can delete that from persons 1. Okay. Well, now let's go back and see if that actually deleted it. I'm going to change it back to Git. There we go. That looks better. That looks better. Okay, so now we're down to just 3 entries. Don't worry, when we restart, as soon as the next time we save and restart our server, it's going to put everything back. Everything's in local memory. We didn't actually delete anything permanently, just in this current instance. So if you make a mistake, it's no big deal. All of this is just in local memory. No problem. It's all fine. It's all local. Okay, so somebody asked, how did we actually, what did we do? What did we even do that actually caused that deletion to happen? Oh, I am missing an equal. It didn't seem to matter though. That's in my original code too. It's fine. Luckily, in this small data set, it's not going to hurt anything. So what did we actually do here? Well, so we said, all right, look at our array and filter it down to the entries that are not equal to the ID that we're passing in. So essentially what you end up is you end up with a data set with the IDs that are not equal. If we pass in 1, you end up with a data set of the IDs that are not equal to 1. And then we reassign that back to itself. So we say, all right, persons is now equal to the filtered version of itself. So we didn't say delete the entry. We essentially just said, just grab all the entries that are not that ID. So it's deletion by exclusion. Yeah. Error red, econ reset. Is there a specific, I'm assuming you're getting it in the terminal? See if you can, if you're getting an error in the terminal, usually the meat of the error, in Postman. Okay. Did you make sure that you're switching your request type appropriately from get to delete as you need to? $500 internal server error. Is your URL, are you trying to visit the correct URL? First off, check and make sure your URL is correct in your delete, and also make sure that make sure your server is running. Number one, make sure your server is running. If you're not using Nodemon, remember to restart your server if you need to. If you're not using Nodemon, you're gonna have to Control C and then restart it. I'm using Nodemon, so I'm not really paying attention to that. But if you aren't, then yeah, that may be a manual thing for you. Double check that your URL is correct, and when you actually do the delete request, make sure that you are hitting the correct URL. If we delete one object, sorry, wait, how would I do this for an object? I have a for of loop, but I can't figure the logic to display everything but that object. It depends. If it's like the last one, you could do like a length minus whatever, or last or first, you could do, you could control where the loop starts, I guess. If it's something in the middle, that might be a little bit harder. I mean, I wonder if there's like an object specific method that can maybe help you with that. Like I know you're using for of, but there might be something better than that. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but maybe something better than a loop for that. Assignment to constant variable. Aha. What do you have your person? Do you have your persons, your array of phone book entries? Do you have it declared as a let or a const? Remember that you can't reassign things to a constant. Ah, yeah, okay, go. You got it. Live debugging. Yeah. And Rascal, of course, already figured that out. Yeah, you could loop through the keys. Yeah, you could do object.keys and loop through that, and then maybe do and do a conditional. So like, okay, yeah, that's a good point, Rascal. You could just look specifically at object.keys, and it's if within the loop you could be like, all right, if ID equals the key object key, then next else add to your array or add back to your object. Deb Puddle, I think you should have included MongoDB in the homework. Well, we already did MongoDB when we did the CRUD. It was in the homework, just not this week. It was last week's homework, the CRUD tutorial, or was it the week before? So we did already do some MongoDB. It's in my. You can look back at my VODs where we built a full stack CRUD app. We did do MongoDB there. So if you want some experience with that, look for my VOD on building a CRUD app. That was the 6-hour one. Have fun with that. Took me 3 days to get through that tutorial, but it was way worth it. Yeah, it was worth it in the end. I think gives you a better picture of end to end, how it's going to look in the end, how it's going to look end to end. Okay, so that's our delete. Since we just finished this particular exercise, excuse me. Since we just finished this particular exercise, let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll hit up 3.5. But this is perfect. We're halfway done. We're halfway done with the exercises 3.1 through 3.8. So I feel like we're making really good progress. Hydrate, thank you. So yeah, I think we're gonna get through it. We're gonna be all right. Let's see. Any last questions before we break on this particular on this particular exercise? And yeah, there's a bunch of different ways you could do this deletion. Totally fine. There's no, I'm not gonna say there's a particular right way. Like Dane tag, like you mentioned, there may be performance issues at scale if you have a bunch of entries. I can't really speak to that. I hope we, talk more about that kind of thing a little bit later when we get into, best practice, efficiency, the more theoretical or the more high level stuff in class. For now, I'm just like, it works. I'm going to use it. Oh, you figured out your error. You missed the first slash in the path. Oh, perfect. Yeah. Whenever you're, building out these endpoints, you have to make sure that you include that initial slash. The easy mistakes seem to be like forgetting the slash, forgetting to restart your server if you need to, forgetting to reload the page if you need to, spelling errors. Those are really common. You've seen me misspell things a dozen times. So it's easy mistakes to make. Is it supposed to stay deleted? No, it won't. Watch what, so you can try it. You can experiment with this. Delete it, do the delete request, and then restart your server, and poof, it'll come right back, right? Because we are storing all of these things, everything in our little API here. We're just declaring it right here, right? We're not storing it on Mongo or somewhere where it's going to be like away from our local machine. We're resetting this every single time. So if you make a mistake, it's fine. You're not going to hurt anything. Just restart your server and it'll all come back. It's all local. So it's okay. Rascal says, messing with raw MongoDB is fun. Surprised at how friendly it was. Was able to create, read, and search 9,000 entries and nothing caught on fire. That's always good. Yeah. I love, big databases are amazing with how they can handle like massive requests. The stuff I do at work, some of the tables, I work with traditional relational databases at work, so it's a little different than Mongo, but some of those databases have those tables, like you have a table with a few million rows, and you're doing a lookup on it, and and it's amazing how well it can search through that data and search the different properties of that data and give you back what you're looking for. It boggles the mind at the bigness of the data, and that's just one table, and there's multiple databases full of table after table, some of which are that massive, and it's just the sheer volume of information that databases can contain is why I love them so much. It's why I like to work with them, because databases are just the ultimate. They are the ultimate repositories of knowledge. Really, I mean, databases power the world, whether they're Mongo or SQL or something else. Databases are what make the world run. And so if you're comfortable with databases, you can be comfortable anywhere, in my opinion. Yeah, if you were saving this API information somewhere else where you weren't recreating it every single time you restart your server, then you can make it more permanent. Yeah. Yeah, somewhere on the file system. Yeah, so Amila, we did initialize a Mongo database in my CRUD tutorials, so you can always look back at that and see how to build in Mongo, and then play around with it a little bit like Rascal was doing. And Rascal, I mean, if you went over it on stream, feel free to plug your feel free to plug a specific stream if you did that Office thing on stream. I don't know if you did, but hence APIs. Yeah, data running the world. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and take a break. I'm going to get the timer going. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to go get some more tea probably. I'm down to like half an inch in the cup and it's cold. So All right, here we go, starting the timer, and then when we come back, we will do the remaining 4 questions. Yeah, Mongo Atlas, absolutely. That's actually what our tutorial that we all did together, that's what that recommended to install. Is specifically, sorry, that's that recommended us to create an account with, is specifically Mongo Atlas. So I'm glad we did. Yeah. All right. Yeah, Dane tagging. And last thing, that is a, that's a good point. We really don't have any error handling here. If we were doing this for realsies, we would, obviously want some kind of input protection, whether that's, providing an input form that only allows numbers, or, something else. We would have some kind of additional input protections on this, right? Sanitizing it in other ways. Yeah. All right, tea time. Okay, folks, we got about a minute left. Come on back. My kettle is still not quite boiling yet, so hopefully it finally boils in the next 45 seconds. Might need a few extra seconds to actually, get the cuppa ready, but hey, Full Stack, thank you so much. I appreciate it if you're still here. Yeah, I put a fair amount of effort into these streams, but I do enjoy doing them. Like I always say, if I didn't enjoy doing the streams, then I wouldn't be doing them. It's my choice entirely. I'm not doing this for a living, right? So yeah, I appreciate the support. I hope to see you back here again soon. And my VODs are always available. So if you can't catch me live, there's no worries at all. Just grab the VODs. That's why they're there. Or check out my YouTube. Okay. Give me like a couple more seconds to just pour a cup, and I will be right back. Okay, and we're back. And my webcam's on. There we go. Okay, got a nice fresh cup of tea, ready to go. What tea am I having? Classic black tea. Yes, my traditional cheap store brand black tea that comes in the pack of like 200 or 100 or something. The giant box for super cheap. It's my jam. I ain't fancy about tea. I ain't fancy about coffee. It all tastes very similar to me anyway, which is probably blasphemous, but I do have a YouTube channel, exclamation point YouTube for my YouTube channel, exclamation point Twitter for my Twitter, exclamation point GitHub for my GitHub. It's all there. Yep, that's where I move the VODs after Twitch. I'm probably actually going to move a couple more. I'm probably going to move the full CRUD, the 6-hour tutorial. I'm probably going to kick that off. It's going to take several hours to export over to YouTube, but I'll probably kick that off tonight. So it'll be on YouTube by tomorrow, theoretically. It takes a long time to process. But yeah. All right. So let's keep on trucking with the questions. Okay, next question. So we just did 3.4. So let's go into 3.5. Oh, yeah. Thanks for stopping in, Brooke. Thanks so much. All right. Always good to see you. Expand the backend. Wait. Yeah. Okay. Expand the backend so that new phone book entries can be added by making HTTP post requests to this particular address. Okay. So it's the same. It's the similar address that we've been visiting before with the GET request, but now we need to send a post request or a create, right? The C in CRUD. We need to send a create request to that particular address. Generate a new ID for the phone book entry with math.random for some reason. Use a big enough range for your random values so the likelihood of creating duplicate IDs is small. Okay, so quick disclaimer, I did not do that because I don't want to use math.random when I could just generate a sequential ID that like keeps things in order. And the text even gives you an example of how to generate a sequential ID. So I am deviating slightly from the question here because I don't want to use math.random when I could just generate a sequential ID and the text literally gives you an example of how to do that. So we're going to do that. If you feel very strongly about me using math.random, you are welcome to do that in your version. Hey, Driftwood. New to the Twitch community, but full stack developer. Oh, that's awesome. Do you do full stack every week or random coding? I am following along with another online educator named Leon Newell, who is teaching full stack web development. I am in that course right now. Even though I'm already a developer, I'm learning full stack from Leon. So you can always do exclamation point Leon to see more about the course that we are following. Leon is also on Twitch, so follow Learn with Leon. He's the primary educator. I'm just sort of like a volunteer secondary educator within the community. So Leon is the main guy. Exclamation point Leon for more information about the course that we're all enrolled in, or most of us are. Yeah. Feel free to check out any of those links. Your master's in teaching, now a developer. That's awesome. Yeah, I was an undergrad in statistics. No formal training at all. Learned everything on the job. Ain't that how it goes? Or go full Code Wars and use math.random to also generate a sequential ID. Ooh, yeah, you have to like set the range, right? Yeah. Hey, thanks for coming, Akaiberry. Always good to see you. Yeah, D5. So I have like a massive library of completed code wars that I've done, and I just upload them in batches to get my beautiful green squares. I haven't done it in a while, hence the gap, but I'm gonna catch it up. I gotta backdate some stuff. Okay, so we need to make an HTTP post request to that address. All right, so let's go ahead and get that set up. So we know we're going to need to do something with, let's put it down here below our, and actually I'm going to hide this too, sorry. Make it a little more real estate. There we go. So above our listen, again, I am going to do an app.post, and I'm going to direct it to the appropriate URL. So it's that API/person. So I'm just going to copy that from my GET request up here so I don't have to type it out. Copy, and I'm also going to just go ahead and copy the rec res as well. Just all this, we can just copy it. All follows the same, it's the same syntax essentially, right? So we're hitting API persons. We have a request and a response, and then we're doing something inside of it, whatever that may be. And let's see, what are we doing inside of our post request? Well, we are essentially sending it something, right? We're sending it an object to insert into our phone book. So we can call that the what do we call that when we're sending a essentially we're sending a request. We're sending information up in a request. What do we call the thing that we're sending up? It's the what of the request. Does anybody know? There's a name for the content that we're sending up. Yeah, it's the body. Yes, exactly right. So I'm going to go ahead and declare a variable for this. Const body equals rec.body. Now you don't have to do that, but const body rec body. I'm just kind of following the template. There's a template for this in the text as well, and I'm also going to, so I'm going to have a request, right? And it's going to consist of a name and a phone number. And then what the question is telling us going to want to tell us to do is essentially generate an ID for that. So we aren't hard coding the ID. We're going to want to generate it. So our request body is going to consist of a name and a phone number, and then we generate the ID and we're going to assign it. So we're going to have a body with those elements in it. And then we're also then, I'm going to go ahead and then essentially create an object that's going to contain all that information that we're sending it. Oh, that's what request body is. Yeah. So I'm just going to say let entry equals, we're going to have an ID, which is going to be something. We're going to generate it, right? ID generate. Name is going to be body.name. So we're going to grab, we're going to take it, we're going to have an object, and then I'm going to put it into a larger object that also contains the ID, and then I'm going to add it to our existing list of our persons list. So body.name, and it doesn't like that because I put this comment here, so that's all right. We'll just do that for now. That's going to be generated. We'll do that in a minute. And then number is going to be body.number. So it's going to take apart that request body. It's going to assign it to a larger object that also contains the ID that we are going to generate on the fly. Once the request is made, we're going to generate that ID on the fly and dump everything into this object. And then finally, we're going to say, we're essentially just going to add this new entry. We're going to add it to our existing persons array. So persons is going to equal persons. Now there's a few different ways that we could do this. I think this was directly in the text. Yeah, we could do persons.push. Let's actually try that. I think the text uses concat. Maybe I'm wrong, but let's try push. Let's do that. Concat is used in the text. Yeah, concatenate, my favorite word. Normally we think of a concatenate in the terms of a string, right? Concatenate means to take like elements and kind of squish them together into the same resulting object, right? And so yes, concatenate. Indeed, I like cats quite a bit. Got concat. Oh, nice rascal. That's good. Yeah, so I like that word. It's a good word. You think of it like a long cat. Yeah, exactly. The text does use concat, but let's try push instead. I like that. Push seems to make more sense compared to like the kind of things that we normally do. So let's do that. All right. So persons is going to be persons.push, and then we're going to add entry. So we're just adding an entry to persons, right? Yeah. Okay, let's try that and see if that works. And then, all right, so we're going to push it, and then in the end, we also want to get that response back. So we're going to do res, just like we have before. .json. We want to respond with essentially we want to respond with the new entry. Now I'm thinking, I wonder if I want to do that, or if I want to do, well, let's just leave it like that for now. I might change that. Yeah, we're going to respond with entry. All right. I think that should be all right. So now we've sort of built the structure, the scaffold, but we still need to generate the ID, right? So the text literally gives us like a formula to do this, or a function that can do this for us. Is it the best way to do it? I don't know. I was kind of reading it. I was thinking that, could probably be made a little bit smoother, a little bit more compact, but if they're literally giving us the answer, then why not use it, right? So, let's see. I'm going to grab what they used. And I'm just going to add it just above my post request as a separate function. So that way we can call it. So it's called generate ID, and we're going to go ahead and call it down here. So it'll generate the ID on the fly once the request is made. And what they're doing here is they're just saying, all right, max ID equals persons.length greater than 0. And it's a ternary. So checking to see person.length greater than 0. If it is, then find the maximum. So map all the IDs, like use the spread operator, map them out, and then find the maximum of each of those, and then return the max plus 1. So, and that's what Piece of Shoot just posted in there. And D5, that's what we're doing. We're generating the ID using this generate ID function. Yeah, and persons.length. Yeah, that's right. That's a really great point, Driftwood. You got to be careful about that, right? If you delete an ID somewhere in the middle, the length is going to change, but the max ID is not. So if I have 4 entries and I delete one, my length is now 3, but there's still an ID of 4, right? If I deleted ID 2, I'm going to have IDs 1, 3, and 4. My length is now 3, but I still have an ID of 4. So you have the potential to, to screw things up if you start deleting stuff in there. So, yeah. Yep, exactly. All right. So I mean, this is literally what they use in the text. Is it the best? I don't know. Am I going to copy it? Yes. So, there we go. So ID, got that. Everything's there, I think. And so then, inside of our actual entry that we're going to add to persons, we just generate the ID, which should give us what we're looking for. Grab the name and number from the request, add them to the object, and then just push it to the end of the array. Okay. So that's our post request. And I think that's all we need for this one. It's going to ask us to add a little bit more for the next question, which is why I'm double checking. Yeah, let's just do this for now. Okay, and not using math.random. All right, I'm saving. Let's see if it, no errors, so that's a good start. All we need to know is how to use good Lego chunks, not how each individual Lego works. Exactly. Yep. Sometimes you got to save yourself some grief and just say, hey, there's something already here that I can use. I'm going to use it. Exactly. Okay, now we're going to need Postman for this. So let's go back to Postman because we literally need to do a post, right? Let's use Postman to deliver our post. Okay, so again, I'm going to change to a post request here. I'm going to make sure I get the URL right. For my post, I need API persons. So I'm just going to grab this and API persons. So that's where we're going to be sending our post request. Now, how do I actually send the request, right? Because I need to type in some stuff somewhere. This is where it can get a little tricky if you haven't done it before. So what we're going to do here is we are going to, watch me get this wrong. We're going to say body. So you're going to choose body. And it says this request does not have a body, right? So notice it was on params. It was on params. I changed it to body. And in this little drop down here, I'm going to choose raw. And then I'm going to send it as JSON. Okay. I'll make this a little bigger. All right. And so now what I can do is I can enter my name and whatever the other parameter was, name and the other thing, and put those into directly into an object. So inside of my object, I'm going to have a name and a number. All right. So name is going to be, I'm just putting this directly into the body of the request because that's what we're parsing out, right? Name and number. Okay. Name is going to be, what's a good name? Somebody give me a name. Let's do number. Best name wins. And for number, I'm just going to do 555. I ain't giving you all my real number. 555, 555, 555, like they do in the movies. 5555. It's all fives. Bob Boberson, that works. All right. Jeffrey. Just Jeffrey. It's like Cher, singular name, just Jeffrey. We'll do Bob Boberson. That's Leon's beloved mannequin friend. Bob Boberson. All right. Name and number. Okay, now I don't have to enter an ID property, right? Because we're generating that on the fly and once the request is posted. So, yeah, McAuser. I like these. These are all good. Crispy bacon. Yeah, nice. Elon Musk. Just Elon Musk. Oh, nice. It's good stuff. I knew if I asked, I'd get good content. Okay. So let's see if we can send this and see if it works. I usually mess this up once or twice, so we might get an error. Who knows? All right. Let's go to the right URL, I think. And we'll go ahead and send it, see what we get. Oh, we got an error. Okay, that's fine. It doesn't like the name. Oh, did I not? Hang on. Let's see what it says here. Cannot. Okay, so we're getting the same error here. Okay, let's see what I screwed up. That's fine. Generate ID. Body name, body number. Entry, can't read the name. I must have done something wrong here. All right, let's see what, did I not need to, does this not need to be in quotes? I don't remember, honestly. Forget, maybe this just needs to be an object. No, it really doesn't like that though. All right. Put that back. Well, that's fine. We can always look back at maybe it should just be text. Yeah, maybe it's not JSON. Let me look. Okay, we have the text here. Let's look at it. Let's look and see what the text is what the text tells us to do up above. We're gonna do our research. We don't gotta flail around. We can look and see. Okay, so it just needs to be text and not JSON. Yeah, right here. So see where it says right here? They show us how to enter content, how to enter stuff into the body in Postman, literally showing us via a screenshot. So instead of JSON, we just need to choose regular text. I mean, read the instructions. Never. Yeah. Okay. Let's try that. See if we still get an error. It's fine. We'll figure it out. Okay, raw text. Okay, still got an error. Could use JSON, headers, content type. Yeah. Oops. Let me just check my notes. It's all good. Oh, yeah. Somebody mentioned we need to use app.use. Sorry, we forgot something. And we did add code for the ID generation. Yep. So we forgot something. It's all good. In the text, we need to add. All right. So receiving data. So in order for our server to receive data from us, we're going to add new notes to the server. So we're going back to the text here. We're going to look. No, it's not incorrect apostrophe. Just bear with me for 1 second. I know what the problem is, but I just want to let's regroup here for a second. So receiving data. Let's make it possible to add new notes to the server. So we make a post request, right? And we send all the information in the request body in JSON format. In order to access the data easily, we need the help of the Express JSON parser that is taken to use with command app.use express.json. Yeah. So app.use express.json. So we need to add that. So we need to add that up top in our code. And we forgot to do that. I forgot to do that. We need to add that up top in our code, right? So let's add that. Let's see, I'm going to add it, I guess, well, I'll put it here after port. App.use express.json. We need to add that in prior to our post. So see what I did there? Just copy paste app.use express.json. Yeah, there we go. Yep, we just forgot that, right? It's no big deal. And then we have our post and all this stuff. Okay, so let's try that again. See if I'm missing anything else. I didn't change anything else. I just added that use statement there. And my Nodemon should have restarted my server. Server's running. All right, let's try again. Hey, there we go. Okay, so we got the ID back, but I don't think I got the whole thing. So let's see, did it put in, let's see, do I need to maybe change this back to JSON? Let's see. Nope, error, okay. So we're getting closer. It's all good. Persons.push is not a function. Interesting. Look at that. I wonder why push didn't work. Let's try concat. Okay. So my whole, thing is reset now, so. Okay, so that time I got back the ID. The push method of arrays returns the length of the array after the push, not the modified array. Therefore, reassigning is not what we want to do. Ah, okay. So we would just do, yeah, so we just do persons dot push entry. Yeah, so like this then. Like that, push. Okay, still not sure this is working exactly the way that I want, but we're gonna, okay. I saved again, so let's do one more time. Push entry, generate ID, name, number, okay. Okay, now I'm curious. I'm gonna do a get here. I'm gonna see what I get back. Oops, can't see it. Okay, so it just gave me back the ID. It worked for, okay, so it worked for you when you set it to JSON. All right, we'll figure it out. Okay, do another push. That's it. I'm going to reset this. Okay. So if I do a get here, it should only have 4 entries. Perfect. And if I do a push now, or sorry, a post, yeah, with JSON. Okay, there we go. Finally, we got it. We got it. All right, perfect. Thank you for your help, folks. So what did we do there? What did we fix? Yes, good question. What did we fix? All right. So we added one line at the very top of our code that is telling this app.use statement here. Now, what is that doing? So in order to access the data easily, we need the help of the Express JSON parser. So this is going to help parse the JSON that we're passing in. And so we can say, all right, hey, app Express, use this JSON parser, please, to parse our JSON. All right. And then down here in our post, we really just did instead of reassigning persons equals persons.push, push is modifying the array itself, so we don't need to. We just say persons.push entry, add it to the end, and then return that entry so we can see it. And then in Postman, we've made sure that we're doing a post request. We have everything in our body formatted as such. We have it, and we chose raw formatted as JSON. And that worked. Now, if I do a get, I should see the full list. Yeah, so you can't really see that. There. So now we can see that my last my entry of all the people now contains Bob Baberson. Yeah, so my initial mistake was that I forgot to include that use, app.use, and then that caused kind of a cascade of other things, but we got it, right? And sometimes you get that, right? You get one error and you fix one thing, and then you try it again, and you get a different error, but you're a little closer, and so you just kind of iterate until you run out of errors. It happens a lot. How did we delete ID5? Well, remember that everything in our little API here is just stored directly in this code right here, right? So each time I restart my server, it sets persons again with just the initial 4 entries. Does that make sense? We're not storing it in Mongo or somewhere else. We're redeclaring it. We're redeclaring this array of 4 objects every single time we restart the server. So if we ever make a mistake, we can just reset it. We don't have to manually delete anything or reset anything. It's going to reset itself every time we restart our server. Yeah. Just restart your server. It's okay. If you have that lone ID sitting out there, just like make a change in your file, save it, and let Nodemon recycle your server, and then just do the post again. Just a typo. Okay, good. Yeah. None of this is permanent. It's all good. You hit beautify in Postman. Oh, interesting. That may have changed it to JSON for you. It may have seen what you were trying to do and change it to JSON, so it was able to parse it. Check your settings. If you're only getting the ID, it's not that means it's not able to grab the body properly of what you put in here. Make sure you filled this in. Make sure you filled in the body, and that you have it set to raw and JSON, and that you have your use your JSON parser up here up top, and that you've saved and restarted your server if you need to. Whew, that was an adventure. All right. So we were able to add something, which is awesome. Now we just need to add, we're gonna, oh, do I have a YouTube channel for past VODs? Do ! YouTube in the chat. And thank you, Rascal. And you will get a direct link to my YouTube channel. Rascal used to have to do that stuff manually until I actually added some commands. All right. So now at least we have this working, right? We know how to add stuff, but we really don't have any sort of controls or checks on the types of things that get added. So I think the next question is going to have us add a couple of conditionals to maybe sort of control whether or not things are allowed to be added, and so that things maybe don't get overwritten. Or things aren't allowed to be added that are maybe missing data or malformed in some way. All right, so I'm going to scroll back down to the questions. And if you're struggling with this, if you still can't get it to work, I would highly suggest that you go back to just go up in the text and read the section on doing post requests. It really helps, like if you're able to code along with the with the text as it goes very slowly, step by step through each one. It talks about how to do post requests, the kind of settings you need in Postman, and that kind of thing. And so, just go back and look at that section if you can, and see if you can get it working from there. Documentation is key, indeed. Okay, expand the backend. Let's see, we did that. Wait, yes, we did that. All right, question 6. Implement error handling for creating new entries. The request is not allowed to succeed if the name or number is missing or the name already exists in the phone book. Okay? Respond to requests like these with the appropriate status code, and also send back information that explains the reason for the error, e.g., error name must be unique. Okay. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're really not creating a new request. We're just kind of adding to our existing post request, right? We're just adding some additional error handling to that existing post. So let's go back down. So instead of just saying, all right, yep, build up the entry and push it and, just add it no matter what, we want to add a little bit of gatekeeping there to make sure that, it's going to work properly or add good data to our database, which makes sense. Oh, excuse me, I need to hydrate real quick. I think my tea is well and truly steeped. It's been steeping for like an hour now or 45 minutes. It's going to be some strong tea. Whew. The best of the cheapest. The only good gatekeeping, right? Yes. All right. So we don't have to get too fancy with this. Really, we're just checking. The first thing we need to check is see, all right, does the body of our request body, does it have something in the name field? And so we remember we've set our request body equal to a variable already called body. So we can just basically say, look, if the name, the name property of our object that we're trying to pass in, the body of it, if it doesn't have that name, then do something. And also we're going to have it send back some kind of, custom error message. Custom error message. All right. So if that's not present, then send back a custom error message. Also, if body.number does not exist. And remember that the bang, the exclamation point, essentially is, a not, right? So, and again, we're exploiting those truthy and falsy values. I keep typing custom error, custom error. All right. So really, we're exploiting truthy and falsy here to just do quick checks to say, like, look, does it have a name? Does it have a number? If it doesn't, then throw an error. And also, too, the third thing we need to check is does the name already exist inside of the our existing array? Okay, so hey, see you later, Zena. Have a good dinner. Yeah, and you could do it as like an or statement, but do remember that we are going to be sending back custom error messages depending on which one is missing. So, I mean, yeah, you could do a check for both. In this case, I just did two separate statements because we need a custom message depending on what thing is missing. However, yeah, you could condense it down into an or if you prefer. Okay. So if persons, now I think there's a few different ways you could do this. I chose, so just messing around with, with different possibilities of how you could possibly do this. I'm not saying this is the best way, but I'm gonna look something up really quickly. So I tried using sum. I don't think that's maybe necessarily the best way to do it. But you can use, essentially you can do a check. What that does is it allows you to check if array elements pass a certain test. See you, Cranberry. Thanks for coming. You could do find. Yeah, I just tried using sum because I'd only seen it like once before, and I was like, that looks interesting. But it's up to you how you do it. I haven't really used it before, so I was like, all right, I'll try it. But I would probably use find, honestly. Yeah. I'm not saying that one is particularly better than the other, but sometimes it's fun just to try stuff. So that's what that is. But all right, I'll just put in what I have, but you can, obviously do it the way that works best for you. So entry. So we're checking. So essentially what it's doing is it's doing a check against each array item, right? So we're going to check and see if entry.name, if any of the names of the existing entries are equal to the name that's being passed in our request body. Body.name. Yeah. And then we're going to just, if it is equal, then we're going to want to return some kind of error, right? Okay. So, well, you could, so the first message is or for name or number. Yes, but we are going to, want to return a custom error for depending on what's missing. So, I mean, you could do that. You could write it differently. Just remember that they want a custom error for each different type of thing that's missing. So we are going to return the same status for both. And I think the best status to do was 400. I don't remember what that is, but we're going to want to return a response status of 400. Is that content missing? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, rec body status wait, sorry, response. Yeah, status. Okay, that's it. 400. Okay. And then we're going to send back some JSON with the custom error inside of it, because that's what they said they wanted, right? So the error is inside, send back a custom message of some JSON. And inside of that, we're just going to say error, name missing, name is missing. Okay. And then similar for that. But yeah, you could do this probably in one single statement as well. I was originally thinking that I was going to need different status numbers for each one, but they ended up being the same. So you could probably streamline this. And you could probably even like have this be just, like a ternary, right? Like, or a, the thing in the ticks, the $sign in the brackets. You could do like a, have it be variable. Number is missing. All right. And then the last one, we can also return, well, template literal. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, because we want it to be specific. They told us it needs to be specific, so we can't just say content missing, right? It's got to be name or number or whatever. Users aren't always the brightest, indeed. We got to help them sometimes. Hold their hand a little. See, yeah, specific to what's missing. Yep. Okay. So, but for this one too, I don't remember if I meant to change this, but I left it as 400. So I don't know. No, it's res status. Actually, I'm just going to copy this. We're going to return a res status of 400 again, because I don't think that's it's not missing. I don't think that should be missing content. It should be content already exists. If somebody has a better status that they want me to drop in here instead, I will. I don't think I meant to leave it that way. But this error should be name must be unique. They even gave us the text that they want here, so we'll just drop that in. Should it be 400 though, piece of shoot? Or is there a better status that we should use? Because 400 is 401. Should it be 400 like the other ones? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that is the best one. There's so many statuses. I don't know. 409 for conflict. Maybe that's better. Yeah, 409 for conflict maybe. Well, we already have the body of the request, so we don't need to generate the ID or build out the content because we already have the body of the request, so we can just immediately check it and throw an error before we do anything else. 401 is on. Let's do 4. Okay, let's try 409 and see what that does. Bad request. Yeah, it could be bad request. Is 400 bad request? Is that what it is? Thank you for the hydrate, BLK. Well, it doesn't really matter anyway. Okay, 400 is bad request. Okay, that just seems so generic. I don't know. I think the text uses 400 for that, but I don't remember where I got it, honestly. Let's see what 409 is. It's not going to hurt anything. 409 is conflict. I think that works better. Yeah, I think that's good. Because, I mean, literally, it's a conflict, right? The name already exists. We don't want to re-add it. So 406 is not acceptable. Anybody here watch Adventure Time? Lemon Grab? Unacceptable. Yeah. Okay. We'll save it. That's it. Yeah. Unacceptable. Same guy from Rick and Morty, by the way. If you didn't know that. Lemon Grab is voiced by Dan Harmon from Rick and Morty. Oh, thank you for the full stack. That's smart. You actually looked up the list of status codes rather than just asking questions about it. Nice. Look at you being proactive. All right, we saved this. Now we should be able to test it out theoretically by trying to pass in some values that are not allowed. Okay. so let's go back to Postman and let's do a little bit more testing. All right, server's active, everything's running, no errors. Tree trunks, I love tree trunks. She's so sweet. Okay, so all the YouTube stuff from, so are you talking about all my YouTube videos? Yeah, they're all Twitch streams that that started out as VODs here on my channel. So if you want my most recent stuff, check on my channel here first, and then I'll move them over to YouTube after a while. But yeah, this is the fresh, this is the fresh, the real stuff, the live stuff. Yeah. 422 is what GitHub uses when you try to create a repo with a name that already exists. Okay. All right, let's see. Let's try it. So so now if I do a git on my persons, I should go back to seeing 4 entries because we kind of reset our server. So let's see what we get. Yeah, so I've gone back to seeing 4 entries. 418 is a teapot. Oh, that's great. All right, so we're back to seeing 4 entries. So I'm going to try to pass in one with a name that already exists, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to try to pass in Mary, whatever. Let me edit you. All right, there we go. All right, so we'll see if I can pass that in. Theoretically, it should tell me I can't. 420, enhance your com. Oh, that's got to be like one of those 70s programmers things that when they came up with it. But no, that was way before the internet, so never mind. No. All right, let's see. So, and I need to change this to a post request, right? Posting, send some JSON with a name that already exists. Hey, look at that. We got a 409, we got a conflict, and it says the name must be unique. First try, theoretically. Finally, I got a win. There we go. Nice. Okay, so name already exists. So now let's do one where the name is not present. So I'm just going to try to pass in just a number. Okay, let's see what happens with that. Hey, we got a 400. We got a bad request. So you can see the status is changing. It's updating to what we told it to be, right? So if I was, doing something in the browser would, also record that status as well. So name is missing. All right, awesome. I wonder if I can, yeah, I can you can control Z to undo. So let's take off the number. I'm going to need to get rid of my comma as well. Okay. And I'm going to pass in a unique name. We'll just do tree trunks. Okay, we'll try to add tree trunks. And we'll send that. Hey, there we go. Number is missing, and we got our bad request. Perfect. 404 not found. I would think that would be more for if the name doesn't exist in the database that we're trying to hit. So if I was trying to query the database and bring back the name, then yeah. But I feel like if I'm passing, if it's in the data that I'm sending to the database, maybe not necessarily. I don't know. It seems like a bit of a personal choice, I guess. Yeah. I wonder. Okay, hang on. I just need to try. All right. So if I try, what's the one with the teapot? 418. 418. Okay. I'm gonna change this. I just for funsies. Bear with me. All right. 418. And so if all right, I'm gonna try to pass something now with the number missing again. Let's see what we get. Ha ha! Look at that. I'm a teapot. All right, wait. Let's read what it says. The code was defined in 1998 as one of the traditional April Fool's jokes. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Hypertext coffee pot control protocol and is not expected to be implemented by actual HTTP servers. Ha! Joke's on you. We're going to implement it anyway. I'm putting it everywhere. However, known implementations do exist, such as ours. Like foobar, exactly. Yeah. All right, I wonder. I don't know if y'all are joshing me or not, but I'm going to try 420 and let's see what we get. Sorry, I know I'm getting distracted, but I need to try this. This is important. All right. Saved and sent. Unknown. Ah, lame. Lame. Okay. All right, but 418. I'm going to leave it as 418 just because I want to. Going to be sending some teapots. And we'll leave this one as 409 because I feel like that actually makes sense. For science, indeed. This was a triumph. I'm making a note here. Huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. We do what we must because we can. Okay, great. So we did everything they asked. There's more we could do, right? There's more we could handle. We could handle if they try to put two names in, if they try to force an ID, right? If instead of letting us generate it, if they try to put two numbers in, if the number isn't the right length, we can control for a lot of those different things, but that's not what the question has asked us to do. So I think we've controlled for the two things they've asked for, and then we can move on to the next question, I think. Oh, there's a few unofficial codes. I got you. Yeah. Method failure. Okay. Should be, well, we, sorry, noob coder. We actually originally had these two as 400, but that's boring. So we had them as 400. We confirmed that that works. And then we changed it to 418 because 418 is more fun. So yes, they did start out as 400. Don't fear, noob coder. They started as 400 and we have modified them. Okay. Your scientists are so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Yeah. Exactly. All right. So we've done question 6. So questions 7 and 8. Let me reacquaint myself with question 7 here real quick. So there's a little bit of a section there. I don't want to skim this too much, but there's a section there on middleware. So the JSON parser that we had to install a little bit ago, or that we had to use a little bit ago, is called middleware. And so they can do stuff with the request and the response objects that we're passing back and forth. So that's why they're middleware, right? They sit in the middle and they do stuff with the requests and the responses. They sit in between us and the endpoint, kind of, or they act in between the client and the endpoint. So the next thing that we're going to do when we get back from our break is we're going to add a different middleware called Morgan middleware. And you're welcome to install it over the break, or we can install it when you get back. Yeah, this is a really interesting question. I will say that I was able to complete it to a degree. Is it perfect? No. Does it work? Yes. So we can, this is really interesting because like there's nothing in this on the text. We had to go through, and read the documentation yourself, and just sort of suss it out, to the best of your ability. So that's what I did. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do when we get back from the break. We're going to take 5 minutes and used Morgan during your boot camp. Oh, that's awesome. You know more about it than I do then. So I'm sure you can tell me if I've, made any critical errors at any point. Because I know nothing about it. I just managed to get it working enough in order to do what the question was asking for. So nah, serious. Nah, I remember nothing. Okay, fair enough. We're at the same level then. Perfect. All right. I'm gonna get the timer going, and I'll see y'all back here in 5 minutes. And we're gonna bang out these last 2 questions, and then we're gonna be done. And we are gonna be ready. You're gonna be ready for Tuesday's class. So good for you. And also too, like I mentioned earlier, we already built an API in our last stream. So between this and the API, I feel like I got you on a pretty good footing for Tuesday. But all right, we still got to finish though. Last 2 questions. So I'll start the timer and I'll see y'all back here shortly. No, I'm actually just gonna. I don't need to make this. There we go. All right. See you back here in just a minute. Hey, full stack. I'm honored that that you're asking the question, or sorry, yeah, Driftwood. I'm honored that you're asking the question whether Class Tuesday will be hosted by me or Leon. But no, Leon is definitely the primary instructor. I just do educational streams for fun that are associated with the class. But yeah, Leon is the instructor, and class is starts at 6:30. On Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then there's an office hours on Sunday. And yeah, you can find tons of information on the classes on Discord, and you can also look at Leon's schedule on Twitch. Yeah, yeah, and I just do I do volunteer streams on Wednesday and Sunday, um, just for funsies and to help folks with the homework and projects and class concepts. So yeah. But yeah, the Discord is very robust. There's a lot there. Um, And so, yeah, definitely, if you're interested at all in joining, check out the Discord because it's a huge community, thousands of people, tons of channels, lots of content. Just make sure when you go to the Discord, there is a read first channel, and you have to click. There's emojis in the channel, and you have to click those emojis in order to actually see all the available channels. Like it won't let you in fully until you've read and agreed, to the rules and such. So, oh, thanks, Full Stack. Much appreciated. And you can also check out Leon's channel on YouTube if you want to look at some of the past classes. Leon's, I would say, Leon's a really fun guy. He's more fun than I am. But no, he's a cool dude. Lots of fun. Classes are wild sometimes and super entertaining. So, but also extremely good content. All right, folks, we got about 30 seconds coming back. I'm going to go on mute for just a second. I got to shut a door, and then we'll get back to it and finish out the final two questions. Full stack. I think I know what it is, but I'm going to see if anybody else is able to guess. If they don't, then I'll throw my hat in the ring. Yeah. Yep. Fibonacci sequence. Okay, folks, welcome back. Welcome back. We are nearly done. We have two questions left, and I think we can knock them out here pretty quickly. But I know better than to make promises on how long I'll be talking for. So we'll go until we're done. All right. So now we're getting into a little bit of middleware for our server. So we're supposed to add the Morgan middleware for our application for logging, configure it to log messages to your console based on the tiny configuration. Okay. I love how they say the documentation for Morgan is not the best, and you may have to spend some time figuring out how to configure it correctly. Yeah, we do. However, most documentation in the world falls under the same category. Yeah, most documentation is garbage. So it's good to learn to decipher and interpret cryptic documentation in any case. Okay. Morgan is installed like all other libraries with npm install. Taking Morgan into use happens the same way as configuring any other middleware by using the app.use command. Fair enough. All right, so let's go ahead and get Morgan installed. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my server for a minute here. And I'm going to do npm install Morgan. It's installing it. Now, if I look at my package.json file, I should see it. There it is. So cool, perfect. It's in my dependencies. Who's Morgan? I know. I don't know. It's a yeah. It's a mystery. It's part of the mystery along with the documentation. So we've got Morgan installed, and now we can also do, we're also going to need to, it's middleware, right? So they said specifically we need to use the app.use command in order to make sure that it's working the way we expect. All right, it's actually being used. So we already have a statement up here at the top of our server.js file, right? We have a use for our express.json. So let's go ahead and, and also too, sorry, the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to require Morgan, right? Because we've installed it, but we also need to make sure that we are requiring it. So up here, your wife's cousin is Morgan. She says hi. Well, she has a she has a whole a dependency named after her. So good for her. So in order to make sure that we're implementing Morgan correctly, I'm just going to flip over the documentation really quickly. And so they give you a link right here. This is a link to their documentation on GitHub. So let's just take a look at it real quick. Hi, Morgan. Yes. So looking to see, okay, looking to see like how do they implement Morgan? So what's interesting is that in all the documentation, instead of saying like const, so this is obviously written a little while ago, right? They're using the var keyword, but for us, we're using a newer version of the newer syntax in JavaScript than when this documentation was written. So we're just going to go ahead and say, I'm going to copy and paste this, but I'm going to change it from var to const. Because if you remember, var is the old syntax. So I'm just going to say const Morgan, require Morgan. Yes. All right. So where do we put the Morgan tiny? Yeah. So that is in here somewhere, if I can find it. That's, you just got to dig through the documentation. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Right here. So see where it says app.use Morgan. So there's like types of Morgan that you can implement. And so app.use Morgan, we're just going to replace combined with tiny. So again, it's a use statement, right? App.use Morgan tiny. There we go. Docs say it's named after Dexter Morgan from the TV show. Oh my gosh, I missed that part. I think I just went straight down to the code examples. I didn't read about the history. I'm like, man, just give me some examples. Can't seem to find the reasoning from the name from any official source. Yeah, it's logging. It's logging. Why would it be related to Dexter Morgan, the TV serial murderer? That's very interesting. Yeah. So app.use Morgan tiny. Okay, so that's the first part. We've installed it. We've said we want to use it. Now let's see. What else do we need to do? We've installed it. Okay. App.use. And we said we want to use the tiny configuration. And so those things are accomplished. Perfect. And it says, okay, it's configured to log. We've installed it. Perfect. That's really all that's the meat of question 7. Like they just wanted you to be able to install it, to know that you need to require it, and then to figure out how to implement the tiny configuration. So I think we've done that. Go ahead and save this. See if we get any errors. I don't expect that we will. Oh, and I don't even have my server running, so it's all right. Hey, Amcodes. Yes, we are. We are on question 7 already. So we only have one more question to go, and then we're going to wrap up for the night. But ACM, sorry. ACM, yeah. So the VOD will be available on my Twitch channel, and it actually is available right now. So you can always go to the VOD and rewind to the beginning if you want to start at the beginning. But yeah, we're doing questions 1 through 8, and we have just finished up with question 7. Chemo, maybe the creator was just binge watching the show when he made it or something. Yeah, probably. The docs are a mystery like him. Indeed. Well, we're gonna test whether we're gonna test whether it's actually logging correctly in the next question. That's when we're gonna implement the specific logging. So 3.8, configure Morgan. so that so essentially we're going to want it to be logging to the console, and it's going to be logging information about our post request. At least, I mean, hey, at least that's the way I understood the question. It seemed like to me like 3.7, it wasn't really asking for anything specific. It was just saying, hey, install this, set up the configuration, try to figure out what the documentation is telling you, which is a question in itself. And then 3.8 seems to be where we're actually like trying to get something out of it. But I might be interpreting that wrong. Who knows? All right, so 3.8. So we want to log information about the HTTP post request, and it should look similar to this. So we can kind of see we've got like the request type. So we've got, this is the request type here, and just trying to slice this out into the various components. Like, what is it actually asking for? What do we need to log here? So request type is post. API person, so that's the destination, right? The location where we're posting to. That's the 200 is the status code, right? Successful post, status code 200. Okay. The 61, I don't know what that is. I don't know. The milliseconds, that's the response time. And then at the end here, we actually have the object in the contents that we're posting. So those are the things that we need to try to get Morgan to give to us in our log. So maybe the ID 61 seems like high. Like I would expect that it'd be like 5 or 6 or something. Yeah, it could be the ID. I do not know. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm going to show you what I did. Is what I did correct? I don't know. Is it close? Yeah. So all right, let's see. What do we need to do here? I'm going to need to refer back to my notes on this one because Morgan is weird. All right, so Morgan has some built-in like tokens that it can use. And what I mean by tokens are like sort of built-in elements that it can kind of extract from the data that's being passed through it, and pull those out, and then like they're parameters. They're parameters that's pulling out of the request that's coming in, and it can display those in the log. We just need to know like how to which parameters to pick in order to display what we want. Oh, it's the length of the response. Oh, okay. Fair enough. Okay, I'm trying to find a good example where I looked at this. I think it was the last example that was helpful for me. Yeah, okay, so this is kind of the template that I use. Is the very last example in the documentation. So here what they're doing is they're stringing together several different tokens, right? We've got an ID, method, URL, response time, and it's all just displaying it together in one string in the log. And so for me, that seemed like a reasonable way to do it. So looking through the various available tokens, I went ahead and just said, I was able to do some of them using the existing tokens, and I had to also create a token as well. So yeah, and D5D is a little bit ahead of me there. So we can say app.use. I honestly don't know if you have to do app.use twice, but I did, and it didn't seem to hurt anything. So Morgan. And then the first one is going to be the method token. So it's going to be :method. And what that's going to do is it's going to say, is it a post? Is it a get? Like what is it? Oh, D5D, is that a better article about Morgan? Oh, thank you. Yeah. Because I tried to do it all using the existing documentation. It's rough, man. I'll have to look at that. All right, so the next thing was the URL. So we have the method, we have the URL, and that's the address that we're actually hitting, right? API persons or whatever. The next was the status code, which is just status. And then I kind of skipped that length because I didn't know what it was. I just skipped it. So the next one was response time. Response time. So that's like in milliseconds, that time in milliseconds. And it looks like you can, so D5D, you can put like response time dash. Okay, so dash response time ms. I wasn't sure what type of special characters you could use, but that makes sense. It's just inside of a string. So we can do response time and then ms. Okay. And then content length. Okay, that was one thing I was missing. So I'll add that in. Thank you so much. Res content length. Method URL status res content length. Response time in milliseconds. And then the last thing is we actually what they specify is they also want to see the original like object, so like the body of the request body that we're passing in. So we also need to figure out how to do that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but what I ended up having to do was write my own token. So like write my own additional parameter to pass in. There may be an existing one that will do that. I couldn't figure it out. So, and it does give you a little bit of a hint down here. It says, this exercise can be completed in a few different ways. One of the possible solutions utilizes these two techniques. And so it pretty much hints pretty heavily at that you have to create a new token. So we can look at that, creating new tokens and JSON stringify. So that kind of seems to heavily hint that you're supposed to stringify the body of the object that you're passing in and assign that to a new token. So that's what I did, just based on the hint. I don't know if that was the right approach, but it seemed to work. So let's see. That's the stringify and using custom token formats. Yeah. So again, we're back here. See token, and then so creating new tokens, Morgan.token. So you just basically say Morgan.token, you give it a name, and then there's a function basically telling it what you want to return. So I kind of just grabbed this and said, all right, I'm going to make a new token that's going to contain the body that I'm passing in. So we can say Morgan.token, and I just gave it the name of object, but you can call it whatever you want. You can call it body or something. Body might be better. Object, and then we can grab this function syntax here. You could probably do this in an arrow function. I don't know enough about this, so I'm just like, all right, fine, copy paste. Function rec res, and closing bracket. And what we want to do is we want to then return. So we're going to return essentially just the stringified contents of the body. So, and we can have that as a template literal. I remember the word this time. JSON.stringify, rec.body. Yeah. Cassava, you said, I pushed my first code on GitHub. Hey, great work. That's awesome. I'm so glad you got that to work. I remember you having trouble with that. So I was going to see about, if I could help you in some way, but it sounds like you got it working. So that's fantastic. Good job. All right, so what this should do is it should create a new token called object that we can then use down here inside of our whole little list. So we should just be able to say object, theoretically, if I did it right. And that should add it to our list of values in the log. So whenever we send a request, it should output what we're looking for into the log, theoretically. We'll see if I did it properly. All right, I'm going to save it. And let's try it out. We're going to try to do a post request and then see what we get in the log. And we'll do a post request in Postman, but we'll still see the log contents, showing up here. So that's saved. I'm going to restart my server. All right, if I want to restart my server, how do I do that? Pop quiz. If I want to restart my server using Nodemon, what do I do? Yeah. npm run dev. Exactly. Hey, no errors. Fantastic. All right. Okay. So let's go back to Postman and let's see if we can do another post with, the proper, everything about it should be right because we want it to be successful. So I'm going to add a number back in and with a comma. And we're going to say 555, 555, 5555 for the number. All right, and then we'll see if we can add that to our person list. All right. Command Q. Yeah, I don't know what that does, keyboard. We're using Nodemon specifically, and we set up a little script that can start it for us using that shorthand. But what is it? Did anybody know what Command Q does? What is that? What is that specifically doing? I'm genuinely curious. I don't know. All right. Well, in this case, I was so D5D. I didn't my Nodemon wasn't running at all. I shut it off to install Morgan, so saving wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't restart the server. I have to start Nodemon again. So all right, let's send the request. Okay, look at that. All right, so ID5 name tree trunks. All right, so perfect. It's been added. Now let's see what we got in the console. Oh, nice. Look at that. All right, so in the console, it's now telling us that I set a post request. I don't know. I hope you guys can see that decently well. I sent a post request to this URL. It gave me a status of 200. It had a length of 53. We put a dash in there. Had a response time of 1811 milliseconds. And then this is all the contents of the object. The body, I'm sorry, the contents of the body that we passed in. So I think that's everything it was asking for, which I do appreciate the extra help because I wasn't able to get like those last couple things and it was bothering me, but I was like, screw it. Yeah, so let's double check this. All right, so we've got the request type. We've got the URL, API persons. We've got the status. We've got the length. We've got a dash for funsies. We've got the response time. Mine was faster. And then, yeah, we've got the object contents. Perfect. And yeah, Diz Delightful. I was thinking about that. I think you can combine these two requests. So you don't have to have two separate use statements. I just think I figured those two things out at different times. And so I didn't bother to combine them. But yeah, these don't have to be separate. You can like Diz Delightful said, it worked for me by only adding app.use Morgan tiny and then I see. So Morgan token as a separate statement. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Why do we see Well, I think that's kind of what Diz Delightful was saying. The fact that we use Morgan Tiny, I think actually does. I think I'm realizing this does this by default. So let's try this. All right, hang on. I'm going to comment this out. The second statement. I'm just going to try it without. Okay. Let's experiment for just a little bit. Try this. Okay. I'm going to add something again. I'm going to see what it prints to the console. Interesting. Okay, I did save. Oh, wait, no, hang on. I didn't comment it out. I commented it out in my notes and not in the actual thing that we're working on. Oh, boy. Okay, sorry. Sorry. All right. So I was looking at my notes trying to figure out what I did, but without the second app.use, the info doesn't appear in the console log. Yeah, I didn't think it would, but I did want to try it just in case. Okay, so yeah, it does add the basic information, so that's useful. I wonder, okay, let me try something else. So it adds the basics. That's good. So that must be the configuration for Morgan Tiny. Perfect. So I wonder if I just do this. Yeah, so Morgan Tiny is the bundle of all the tokens that we need to show except the custom one. So I just figuring out how to just add that custom one. Because I imagine this will just show the single one. But let's see. I don't know. You got me curious now. Okay, so that did work to a degree. So, all right. So it used Morgan Tiny, and then it also used the separate object. I would consider that a win. So Morgan Tiny, post API persons, all the information that we wanted, and then the object on a separate line, which I will count as valid. I think that works. Yeah, so tiny is the shortcut to all these specific tokens here on this first line. Yeah. So actually, I'm going to see. Well, I don't want to move that up, but yeah. So if we use tiny, we use our custom object that got us what we wanted. I wonder. Let's try it. Hang on. Okay, one last thing. What if I do this? I'm doing this without having read the documentation for this specific action, so I don't. Let's just try that. Yeah, and that's the same thing I was thinking, Roy King. Nope, it added as the word tiny. It was worth a shot. It's okay. It's close enough. It just puts the object on a separate line, which maybe looks better anyway. Yeah. I could probably figure it out if I spent more time on it, but do I really care that much? Debatable. Predator. Hey, Predator knows how I think. Who needs the documentation when you can just try stuff? Indeed. All right. I think that's good. We'll do it one more time. We'll look at the output. Yeah. So that gives us everything we want and our object. I think that's pretty much perfect. Well, I didn't have to do all those custom objects myself, so I should have just tried running the initial format to see what that looks like. But oh well, it works indeed. I think we did good. It does everything it should. Okay, well, that is all the questions. So that is the questions in the section that we were assigned, right? There's more questions in chapter 3, so you're welcome to do those if you want. But the questions that were assigned were just the ones in the Node.js and Express section, and we have finished those. So good job, everybody. As always, the VOD is available right now, currently. You can watch it anytime. And feel free to check out my YouTube channel for older stuff. Things stay on my Twitch channel for 60 days. We do a lot of fun projects for those of you who are new here. We do tons of fun stuff. We don't just do boring, dry stuff like this homework. This homework wasn't necessarily boring. It was just maybe a little dry. We do, fun projects. We build games. We build apps. We do a lot of cool stuff. So I hope if you're new here, I hope you'll join us again. I'll be streaming again on Wednesday doing something. I don't know yet. We'll see. I usually figure it out a little bit closer to the actual date. But yeah, feel free to check out my Twitch channel for my schedule. Should build a Mindbook site and take down Facebook. Oh man, I don't know if I want to replace Facebook with anything. It should just, crash and burn on its own. Oh, good, Predator. I'm glad they've been helpful for you. Okay, well, we're probably going to raid somebody. Hey, nice to meet you as well, D5D. Could you redeem 25K channel points for control games? Yeah, I'm going to add some more channel rewards. Probably one to show you a reward, probably to show you my foster kittens because they're super cute. I'll probably add one of those, and then I might do a gaming stream here or there. I've been thinking about it for a while. Still having issues with my good, like this is what you all are seeing. This is my bad monitor. This is my tiny monitor with that's only 1080p. I have a nice big, I have a massive monitor that is my other screen, but I can't get Twitch Studio to recognize it properly. It's a QHD, 27-inch monster, but I can't use it to stream. So I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'm probably not going to do any gaming streams until I get that figured out. Yeah. Why not use OBS? Well, Twitch Studio is just what I started with, and it has features that I like, actually. I don't really need all the extra bells and whistles that OBS has, but I might have to switch if I really can't get this monitor working. You have 10,000 channels? Yeah, I'm going to get those rewards up there, absolutely. So what happened to the noisy kitty? Yeah, so unfortunately, he's no longer with us. He unfortunately passed away shortly after the stream where you all first saw him. So I'm really, really grateful that you all got to see him and that he's recorded on video and all of his wonderfulness. Yeah, he was quite old, and he unfortunately had an undiagnosed medical condition. And so, it's not something I really mentioned before, just because it was kind of hard to talk about. And, it's not, that's not the kind of thing I really want to say at like the start of a stream and like, ruin everybody's evening. But yeah, so that way he passed away maybe month and a half ago. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks everybody. Yeah. It was a hard time for a while there, and so I didn't even really want to say anything about it. But I mean, I have my foster kittens and they're really great, and I have my dogs, and so I really hope to show you all my foster kittens. Like I say, they're very cute, and so I'm definitely going to set up a channel point reward for that. And then maybe some other thing. If you guys think of cool things that you want, as channel points rewards, I'm happy to include those, because I know some folks are racking up the points. Maybe a gaming stream, foster kittens, or if you want to suggest a topic for a stream, I have a pretty hefty reward for that. So yeah, I'm open to suggestions. So hope to hear, if you guys come up with something cool, feel free to let me know. But yes, thank you for all the well wishes there. Yeah. And I'm very grateful that Bart, the cat, got to be on stream, and now I have that recording forever, right? Like, it's on my YouTube. I have it downloaded like in 3 different places. And so I have that little bit of him, forever, which is really great. And it's amazing to have that. So it was a wonderful, sort of serendipity that it happened. Yeah. No, he was a great cat. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's figure out someone to raid. Get them pulled up here. Actually, I'm going to do this on my other screen, so y'all don't get that like double window effect. Right. Oh, Rufio's doing something? Okay. Oh, we got options, it looks like. All right, give me 2 more seconds. Takes me a minute to get up to the place where I can raid. Yeah, we've got some options on people to raid, so I'll let you guys make the decision. Yeah, we've got Rufio. Dang, that no bake mousse looks good. Yeah, I look at one brownie recipe. I look at one mousse brownie recipe, and Google is just taunting me with more. Ugh. All right. So yeah, we've got Rufio playing The Witcher. We got Mifu Ree. We got CM Griffing. We got Whistleface the DJ. He's always fun. We got Techie Girl. So I'm open to suggestions wherever you guys want to go. It's fine with me. Any preferences? We got here. I'll pull it over so y'all can see. You get a little bit of the double window effect, but not bad. So we got Whistleface, we got CM Griffing, we got Mifu Ree, Hello, it's Rufio and Techie Girl. Error codes. Oh, okay, let's see. All right, let me get them. They're doing text to speech. I think Rascal's done some text to speech as well. So if you need help with that, I think Rascal did a game with text to speech. So was it what was it, Rascal? Was it Wordle or Tic Tac Toe? Oh, Techie Girl is doing that. Okay. Oh yeah. All right. Let's check out Techie Girl. I don't think we've rated them in a while. All right. I'm going to set up the raid. Should be fun. Okay, raid is gearing up. And all right, here we go. All right, I'll see you all in a couple days on Wednesday. Look forward to seeing you again. Have a good one.